Greetings and salutations. Welcome to DXD Tales. We are thrilled to present today's story. What if Issei was the secret son of Azazel and Gabriel? If these stories bring joy to your day, please consider liking and subscribing. Every bit of support helps us continue this passion project. Now, prepare yourself for an amazing tale. Chapter 1, Awakening. The alarm blared for the third time. Issei Hayate groaned, smacking the snooze button with unnecessary force. His head throbbed with a strange pressure he couldn't explain, like someone was trying to squeeze his brain from the inside. Not again, he muttered, forcing himself upright. These headaches had started a few weeks ago. Nothing serious at first, just occasional pulses of discomfort behind his eyes. Now they woke him before his alarm most mornings, leaving him feeling drained before his day even started. Issei. You'll be late for school. His mom's voice carried up the stairs. Coming. He called back, wincing at how the sound of his own voice intensified the pressure. He caught his reflection in the mirror as he buttoned his Kuo Academy uniform. Same brown hair, same brown eyes. Nothing special. Nothing that explained why he felt like his skin didn't fit right anymore. Probably just stress, he told his reflection, not believing it for a second. Downstairs, his parents moved through their morning routine. His dad hidden behind a newspaper, his mom setting out breakfast. Normal. Ordinary. The way it had always been. You look tired, his mom said, studying his face with concern. Those headaches again? Issei shrugged, shoveling rice into his mouth. It's fine. Just need more sleep. His father lowered the newspaper, eyes narrowing slightly. Maybe we should see Dr. Nakamura. These headaches have been going on for weeks now. It's nothing, Issei insisted, though the thrumming in his temples disagreed. Probably just studying too hard. His parents exchanged a look he couldn't quite interpret. What? He asked. His mother smiled too quickly. Nothing. Just, take it easy today, okay? Something about their exchange felt off, but the pounding in his head made it hard to focus. He finished breakfast and grabbed his bag. I'm heading out, he called, sliding open the front door. The moment sunlight hit his face, the headache spiked. Issei stumbled, gripping the doorframe as spots danced across his vision. For a split second, the world seemed to shift, colors intensifying, shadows deepening. He could swear he saw wings. Flickering outlines of black and white feathers at the edge of his vision. He blinked hard, and everything returned to normal. What the hell was that? He whispered, pressing his palms against his eyes. You okay, son? His dad called from inside. Issei straightened up. Yeah. Just tripped. See you tonight. The walk to school was bizarre. Twice, he noticed people staring at him, not just glancing, but actually stopping to watch him pass. An elderly woman crossing the street made a religious gesture when she saw him. A stray dog growled, then whimpered and ran away. By the time he reached the gates of Kuo Academy, Issei was thoroughly unsettled. The prestigious school had only recently gone co-ed, and as a second-year student, Issei was still getting used to being surrounded by the academy's famously beautiful female students. Today, though, they weren't what had his attention. Hey! Earth to Issei. Matsuda's voice cut through his thoughts. His bald friend waved a hand in front of his face. Man, you look like shit. Thanks, Issei replied dryly. Motohama adjusted his glasses, studying Issei with unexpected seriousness. No, he's right. You look different. Different how? Motohama frowned, tilting his head. I don't know. Brighter? Like you're standing in a spotlight or something. Are you guys messing with me? Issei asked, his patience wearing thin. No, but speaking of messing, Matsuda grinned, changing the subject. Did you hear about the new shipment at? Issei tuned out his friend's perverted ramblings. Normally, he'd be right there with them, discussing the latest research material, with enthusiasm. Today, though, the thought left him cold. Like he'd outgrown it somehow. Right, Issei? He blinked. Sorry, what? I said we're hitting the arcade after school. You in? Yeah, sure, Issei agreed absently, his attention caught by something else. Across the courtyard stood a girl with crimson hair watching him from a second-floor window. Rias Gremery. The school idol and third-year student who normally wouldn't give someone like him a second glance. She was staring directly at him with an intensity that sent a strange shiver down his spine. As their eyes met, Issei felt the headache pulse once, violently. In that moment, he could swear her outline shimmered with darkness. Not shadow, actual darkness, like a living void. He looked away, rubbing his eyes. Dude, were you just having a staring contest with Ria-senpai? Matsuda asked, incredulous. What? No, I just... Issei trailed off as the bell rang. Let's get to class. Throughout the morning, Issei struggled to focus. The headache ebbed and flowed, but never fully disappeared. Twice, he nearly dozed off, only to jerk awake from dreams of falling through clouds, massive wings spreading from his back. During math class, something even stranger happened. As the teacher wrote equations on the board, Issei noticed symbols shifting and changing before his eyes. For a moment, the standard algebra formulas looked like something else entirely, ancient symbols that somehow made perfect sense to him. Hayadu-kun, the teacher called. Since you're paying such close attention, perhaps you can solve this equation. Issei blinked at the board. Without really thinking, he answered, x equals 7.3, repeating. The teacher's eyebrows shot up. That's correct. Though I'm curious how you calculated a decimal answer so quickly without a calculator. Issei was wondering the same thing. By lunchtime, he needed air. He escaped to the roof, avoiding his friends and their inevitable questions about his weird behavior. The moment he stepped outside, the pounding in his head subsided slightly. The open sky seemed to call to him in a way he couldn't explain. He wasn't alone, though. A petite white-haired girl sat cross-legged near the edge, munching on a chocolate bar. Kaneko Tuju, first year and another school idol of sorts. She rarely spoke to anyone. When she saw him, she froze mid-bite. Her eyes widened fractionally. Sorry, Issei said, turning to leave. Didn't mean to interrupt. You smell strange, she said flatly. Issei paused. Excuse me? Not bad. Just strange. She tilted her head, studying him like a curious cat. Like thunderstorms and sunlight. Before Issei could respond to that bizarre statement, the roof door opened again. Yudo Kiba, the pretty boy that all the girls swooned over, stepped out. His usual pleasant smile faltered when he saw Issei. Hayadu-kun, he said carefully. I didn't expect to find you here. Is the roof off limits or something? Issei asked, irritation creeping into his voice. Why was everyone acting so weird today? No, not at all, Kiba recovered his smile. Actually, I was looking for you. Ria-senpai asked me to extend an invitation. She'd like to meet with you after school today. Rias Gremery wants to meet me. Issei couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. Why? Kiba's smile never wavered. She didn't share her reasons. Just that it's important. Before Issei could press further, a sharp pain lanced through his head. He grimaced, pressing his palm against his temple. Are you alright? Kiba asked, taking a step forward. Fine, Issei managed. Just a headache. Kaneko was suddenly beside him, much closer than he expected. Her small hand reached toward him but stopped short of actually touching him. You should see the nurse. I said I'm fine, Issei snapped, then immediately regretted his tone. Sorry. I didn't mean, it's alright, Kiba said smoothly. But the invitation stands. After school, in the old school building. The Occult Research Club room. Issei nodded, just wanting the conversation to end. Yeah, okay. I'll be there. The rest of the day passed in a blur. The headache intensified with every hour, making it nearly impossible to concentrate. By the final bell, Issei felt like someone was taking a jackhammer to his skull. He texted Matsuda and Motohama, canceling their arcade plans with a vague excuse about not feeling well. It wasn't a lie. Whatever was happening to him, it was getting worse. The old school building loomed like something from a horror movie as Issei approached. Gothic architecture, ivy-covered walls, windows that seemed to watch him. The place had always given him the creeps, but today it felt almost familiar. He raised his hand to knock on the heavy wooden door of the Occult Research Club, but it swung open before his knuckles made contact. We've been expecting you, Hayade-kun. Akino Himejima, the school's second most popular girl after Rias herself, stood in the doorway. Her long black ponytail swayed as she bowed slightly. Please, come in. The club room was exactly what you'd expect from a group calling themselves the Occult Research Club, dimly lit, filled with strange artifacts and ancient books, with an actual magic circle inscribed on the floor. Kiba and Kaneko were already there, seated on antique couches. And in the center of it all, perched behind an ornate desk, sat Rias Gremory. Her crimson hair seemed to glow in the candlelight, her blue-green eyes fixed on Issei with unsettling intensity. Thank you for coming, Issei Hayadu, she said, her voice rich and commanding. Please, have a seat. As Issei sat on the couch opposite Kaneko, the pounding in his head reached a crescendo. The room spun slightly. And for a brief, terrifying moment, everyone in the room changed. Bat-like wings unfurled from Rias's back. Similar wings, smaller but no less ominous, appeared behind Akino, Kiba, and Kaneko. Their eyes glowed in the dim light, pupils shifting to slits. Issei jerked back, a strangled sound escaping his throat. What the hell, he gasped. Just as quickly as they had appeared, the wings and glowing eyes vanished. But the knowing look on Rias's face remained. You can see us, she said. It wasn't a question. Interesting. The awakening is happening faster than we anticipated. What awakening? What are you people? Issei demanded, rising to his feet. Rias raised a placating hand. Please, calm yourself. We mean you no harm. Quite the opposite. Then explain why you all had wings a second ago. A small smile played at Rias's lips. Because, Issei Hayadu, we are devils. And you, well, you're something else entirely, aren't you? Issei stared at her, waiting for the punchline. When none came, he laughed shakily. Right. Devils. Sure. Look, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, this is no game, Rias cut him off, her expression serious. You've been experiencing changes lately, haven't you? Headaches. Strange perceptions. Abilities you can't explain. Issei's laughter died. How do you? Because we've been watching you, she said simply. Something is awakening within you, Issei. Something powerful. And it's drawn attention, not all of it friendly. Before Issei could respond, a tremor ran through the building. The candles flickered, some extinguishing completely. Kaneko and Kiba were immediately on their feet, moving to the windows. Speaking of unfriendly attention, Akino murmured, her usual smile replaced with something colder. It seems we have visitors. Fallen, Kaneko confirmed, her small face serious. Issei's head felt like it would split open. Fallen? Fallen what? Fallen angels, Rias explained, rising from her desk with fluid grace. And they're here for you, Issei Hayadu. Outside, the sky had darkened unnaturally. Storm clouds gathered above the school, swirling in a pattern too precise to be natural. Lightning flashed, illuminating winged silhouettes against the clouds. I don't understand, Issei said, backing away from the window. Why would angels, fallen or otherwise, want anything to do with me? Rias fixed him with a penetrating stare. That is the question, isn't it? Why would fallen angels be so interested in an ordinary human boy? Another tremor shook the building. Plaster dust rained from the ceiling. They're getting impatient, Kiba observed, hand reaching for something Issei couldn't see. Akino, prepare a defensive barrier, Rias commanded. Kaneko, Yuto, stand by for combat. Wait. Issei protested. You can't seriously be planning to fight actual angels. Fallen angels, Rias corrected. And yes, we most certainly can. It's what devils do. The pain in Issei's head peaked suddenly, driving him to his knees. Something was breaking inside him, or breaking free. Images flashed through his mind, a man with multiple black wings, a woman glowing with golden light, an infant with one white wing and one black wing. What's happening to me? He gasped. Rias knelt beside him, concern evident in her expression. Your dormant power is awakening, likely triggered by the presence of fallen angels. Whatever you are, Issei, it's trying to emerge. Whatever I am, he repeated. I'm human. Just a normal high school student. Rias shook her head. No ordinary human draws the attention of both devils and fallen angels. No ordinary human sees through our glamour. No ordinary human radiates power like you do. Outside, a voice boomed across the school grounds. Send out the Nephilim. The word struck Issei like a physical blow. Nephilim. It resonated within him, stirring something ancient and powerful. They know, Akino said, surprise evident in her voice. They know what he is. Rias's expression hardened. Then we need to move now. Akino, teleportation circle. Get Issei to the safe house. No time, Kaneko interjected, pointing at the ceiling. A spike of dark energy punched through the roof, sending debris raining down on them. Kiba moved with inhuman speed, pulling Issei clear of the falling rubble. Through the new skylight, a figure descended. A woman with raven hair and violet eyes, dressed in leather straps that barely qualified as clothing. Most striking, though, were the black feathered wings extending from her back, smaller than what Issei had glimpsed in his vision, but unmistakably real. Hand over the boy, she demanded, her voice dripping with disdain. This doesn't concern devils. Rias stepped forward, power crackling around her hands. Rainier. I might have known it would be you. Still doing Kokobil's dirty work. The fallen angel, Rainier, sneered. I serve the will of the Grigori. This abomination, she pointed at Issei, was never supposed to exist. His very presence violates the treaties. What are you talking about? Issei demanded, finding his voice despite the fear coursing through him. I've never done anything to you people. Rainier's laugh was cruel. Your existence is the crime, half-breed. You think it was coincidence that placed you in this town, under our watch. Your father thought he could hide you among humans, but your power was bound to emerge eventually. My father? Issei repeated. The ordinary man who read newspapers at breakfast and worked at an insurance company. What does he have to do with this? Not your human father, Rainier spat. Your true father. The traitor who defied both heaven and the Grigori by coupling with a seraph. None of this made sense, yet something deep within Issei recognized truth in her words. The pressure in his head was becoming unbearable. Enough talk, Rias interrupted, dark power swirling around her. You have no authority here, Fallen One. This territory belongs to the House of Gremory, and Issei Hayadu is under my protection. Rainier's face twisted with rage. You dare interfere in Grigori business? You're even more foolish than your brother. She thrust her hand forward, and a spear of light materialized in her grasp. Without hesitation, she hurled it directly at Issei's chest. Time seemed to slow. Issei saw the spear coming but couldn't move. His body felt frozen, his mind overwhelmed by the pain in his head. He was going to die, right here, at the hands of a creature he hadn't even believed existed until minutes ago. Just before the spear struck, a flash of darkness intercepted it. Kiba stood before him, a sword of darkness in his hand, the light spear shattered around them. Impressive reflexes, Devil Boy, Rainier acknowledged. But I'm just the distraction. Too late, they realized more fallen angels had surrounded the building. The windows shattered inward as 3 more winged figures burst into the room. Ambush! Akino shouted, lightning crackling between her fingers. Chaos erupted. Kaneko lifted an entire couch and hurled it at one of the intruders. Kiba became a blur of motion, his sword clashing against light weapons. Akino's lightning illuminated the room in staccato flashes, while Rias unleashed waves of destructive energy. And through it all, Issei remained frozen, the pressure in his head building to impossible levels. Grab the Nephilim. Rainier commanded. Lord Kokabeel wants him alive. One of the fallen angels, a hulking man with 4 wings, broke through the devil's defense and lunged for Issei. His massive hand closed around Issei's throat, lifting him off the ground. Don't fight it, boy, the fallen angel growled. Your existence is an abomination. But your power will serve us well. Issei couldn't breathe. Spots danced before his eyes as the fallen angel's grip tightened. In that moment of desperation, something finally broke free. With a sound like thunder and crystal shattering simultaneously, light erupted from Issei's body. The fallen angel holding him screamed, releasing him as his hands burned with white fire. Issei dropped to the floor, but he didn't feel the impact. He felt different. Lighter. Powerful. The headache was gone, replaced by crystal clarity. He looked down at his hands and saw they were glowing, the left with golden light, the right with dark purple energy. When he looked over his shoulder, he saw what had caused the fallen angel's panic. Wings. 1 pair, extending from his back. The right wing was feathered black like the fallen angel's. The left was pure white, radiating golden light. Impossible, Rainier whispered, actual fear in her voice. The spawn actually inherited both aspects. Issei felt knowledge flowing through him, instinctual, primal understanding. He raised his left hand, and a spear of golden light formed, similar to Rainier's but brighter, purer. With his right, he conjured a dark energy that felt like the power Rias had wielded. What am I? He asked, his voice resonating with new power. No one had a chance to answer. The ceiling exploded inward completely as a new figure descended, a man with 12 jet-black wings, dressed in a dark robe with gold accents. His face was handsome but cold, his eyes fixed on Issei with a mixture of anger and something else, pride. That's quite enough, the newcomer said, his voice silencing the entire room. Rainier and the other fallen angels immediately prostrated themselves. Lord Azazel. The name struck Issei like a physical blow. Images flashed through his mind, this same man, smiling, holding an infant. Teaching a toddler to walk. Watching from a distance as a young boy played in a park. Father, Issei whispered, the word emerging unbidden. Azazel's expression softened just slightly. Hello, son. I see you've had quite the awakening. He glanced at the fallen angels still bowing before him. Though not quite how I planned it. Rias stepped forward cautiously. Governor General Azazel. This is unexpected. Is it? Azazel raised an eyebrow. Did you think I wouldn't notice when devils started circling my son? Or when Kokabeel's lackeys made their move? His gaze returned to Issei. Though I must admit, your heritage is showing more, completely than anticipated. Issei looked at his mismatched wings, his glowing hands. What am I? You are Nephilim, Azazel said simply. Half fallen angel, half angel. My son, and the son of the seraph Gabriel. The name sent another shock through Issei's system. Gabriel. The woman with golden light in his visions. That's impossible, Aquino spoke up, her voice uncharacteristically shaken. Angels and fallen angels cannot produce offspring. Conventional wisdom, Azazel agreed. But conventional wisdom rarely accounts for exceptions like Gabriel and myself. He turned his attention to Rainier. As for you, did Kokabeel really think I wouldn't notice his schemes? That I wouldn't protect my own son? Rainier trembled. Lord Azazel, we were only following orders, Kokabeel's orders, not mine, Azazel cut her off. Return to him with a message, the boy is under my protection. Any move against him is a move against me personally. Is that clear? Yes, Lord Azazel, Rainier whispered, backing away. She and the other fallen angels retreated through the shattered ceiling, leaving only the devils, Issei, and Azazel in the ruined clubroom. Azazel turned to Rias. House of Gremory. It seems we need to talk. Indeed, Rias agreed, her composure remarkable given the circumstances. Though perhaps somewhere less, demolished. Issei stared at his hands, still glowing with dual energies. Does someone want to tell me what the hell is going on? His voice cracked slightly. Yesterday I was just a normal guy. Today I'm some kind of angel-demon hybrid with a fallen angel for a dad. And an angel for a mother, Azazel added. Don't forget that part. It's rather important to the whole, unique in creation aspect of your existence. My parents, my human parents, do they know? Azazel's expression turned serious. They've been your guardian since you were an infant. They know exactly what you are and have protected you admirably. But why? Issei demanded. Why hide me? Why lie to me my whole life? To keep you alive, Azazel said bluntly. The union between an angel and a fallen angel is forbidden by both heaven and the Gregory. Your very existence challenges the foundation of our separate factions. There are those who would destroy you simply for being born. The weight of those words settled on Issei. He looked at his wings, black and white, darkness and light, and felt the conflicting powers flowing through him. So what happens now? He asked quietly. Azazel smiled, and for the first time, Issei could see the resemblance between them. Now, my boy, your real life begins. And if the power you're displaying is any indication, it's going to be quite the adventure. The next few hours passed in a blur. Azazel transported them all to what he called a neutral location, a luxurious penthouse apartment overlooking the city. There, Rias and her club members sat across from Azazel and Issei as explanations unfolded. Let me get this straight, Issei said, struggling to process everything. Devils, angels, and fallen angels have been at war for centuries. More like millennia, Azazel corrected, sipping from a glass of whiskey. Though, Cold War would be more accurate these days. Open conflict ended some time ago. And you're the leader of the fallen angels. Azazel nodded. Governor General of the Gregory, yes. And my mother is one of the 4 great seraphim, whatever that means. It means she's essentially heaven's equivalent of royalty, Rias explained. The seraphim are the highest order of angels, second only to God himself. Issei rubbed his temples. His headache had subsided since his awakening, but the information overload was giving him a new one. And somehow, despite being from enemy factions, you too, what? Fell in love? A complicated expression crossed Azazel's face. It's not quite so simple. Gabriel and I have history that predates the Great War. Before I fell from grace, we were both angels. So what happened? Issei pressed. Questions for another time, Azazel deflected smoothly. Right now, we need to discuss your immediate future. Your awakening changes everything. You can no longer live as you have been. What does that mean? Rias leaned forward. It means you're now visible to the supernatural world, Issei. Every faction will sense your power. Some will seek to recruit you, others to study you, and some, to kill me, Issei finished flatly. Great. You'll need protection and training, Azazel said. Your powers are considerable, but raw and unfocused. I could offer protection, Rhea suggested, a calculating look in her eye. As a member of my household, absolutely not, Azazel cut her off. No offense, Gremory, but I'm not letting my son become a devil's servant. Rhea smiled thinly. He would be under the protection of one of the 72 pillars. Even Kokabeel would think twice. Or it would give him the perfect excuse to declare open hostility against devilkind, Azazel countered. No, Issei remains independent. Issei looked between them. Don't I get a say in this? Both turned to him with identical expressions of surprise, as if they'd forgotten he was there. Of course, Azazel recovered first. What would you prefer, son? The word still felt strange, this powerful being calling him, son. Issei considered the question carefully. I want to stay at Kuo, he said finally. With my parents, my human parents. They raised me. They're my family. Azazel's expression softened. They are indeed. The Hyudas have been more than just guardians to you. But I also want to learn about this. Issei gestured to his wings, which he'd managed to retract but could still feel, waiting just beneath the surface of reality. I want to understand what I am and what I can do. A reasonable request, Rias nodded. Perhaps a compromise. Issei remains at Kuo under joint observation. My club provides day-to-day support, while you oversee his training. Azazel considered this. Acceptable, provided certain boundaries are respected. No attempts to recruit him into your peerage, Gremory. I wouldn't dream of it, Rias replied with a smile that suggested she'd dreamed of exactly that. Wait, Issei interrupted. What about my mother? My biological mother. Gabriel. Will I meet her? A shadow crossed Azazel's face. That's complicated. Gabriel's position in heaven is precarious precisely because of you. Open acknowledgement of your existence could have serious consequences for her. So that's a no, Issei said, unable to keep the bitterness from his voice. It's a not yet, Azazel corrected gently. Gabriel has watched over you from afar your entire life. She loves you very much, Issei. Never doubt that. Before Issei could respond, a phone rang. Azazel pulled a sleek device from his robe and frowned at the screen. I need to take this, he said, standing. Gremory, a moment of privacy. As Azazel stepped onto the balcony, Issei found himself alone with the devils. An awkward silence fell over the room. So, Kiba broke the tension, a Nephilim. I've only read about such beings in ancient texts. According to those texts, they shouldn't exist, Aquino added, studying Issei with new interest. The union of angel and fallen angel is supposedly impossible. Yet here you are, Rias concluded. Fascinating. Issei shifted uncomfortably under their scrutiny. Can you guys stop looking at me like I'm some kind of science experiment? Kaneko, who had been quiet until now, approached him. Without warning, she poked his cheek. Hey! Issei protested. Still feels human, she observed. Smells less confusing now, though. Thunderstorms and sunshine. Makes sense. Does it? Issei asked. Because none of this makes sense to me. Rias's expression softened. It's a lot to take in, I know. But you're not alone, Issei. Whatever happens next, will help you navigate it. Why? Issei asked suspiciously. You barely knew I existed before today. Let's just say I recognize potential when I see it, Rias replied. And potential allies are always worth cultivating. Before Issei could press further, Azazel returned, his expression grave. Change of plans, he announced. Kokabeel is making his move sooner than anticipated. He's mobilizing a significant force. Here? Rias asked, immediately alert. In Ko? Azazel nodded. My sources say they'll arrive by morning. He's making a play for Issei, using the excuse of removing a dangerous anomaly to justify the incursion. But you're his leader, Issei protested. Can't you just order him to back off? A grim smile touched Azazel's lips. Kokabeel has been looking for an excuse to restart the war for centuries. He's using you as a convenient pretext, but he's really after bigger game. He turned to Rias. Contact your brother. This could escalate quickly. Rias nodded, already pulling out a communication circle. What about Issei? If Kokabeel is coming for him specifically, I'll handle my son's protection, Azazel said firmly. But I need to make preparations. Can I count on your group to watch over him until nightfall? Of course, Rias agreed. The Occult Research Club is at your service. Azazel turned to Issei, placing both hands on his shoulders. I know this is overwhelming, but I need you to trust me, son. Everything I've done, everything your mother and I did, was to protect you. Issei met his father's gaze. I still have about 1,000,000 questions. And you'll get answers, Azazel promised. But right now, time is critical. Stay with the Gremory group. I'll return for you after I've made arrangements. With that, he stepped back and unfurled his 12 massive wings. Even Rias looked impressed at the display of power. Until tonight, Azazel said, and in a flash of light, he was gone. Silence fell over the penthouse. Finally, Issei spoke. So, does anyone want to explain what a peerage is and why Azazel was so adamant about me not joining one? Night had fallen by the time they returned to Ko Academy. The Occult Research Club room had been hastily repaired, by magic, Issei assumed, though evidence of the earlier battle remained. Rias had spent the afternoon making calls and preparations, while Aquino, Kaneko, and Kiba took turns explaining the basics of Devil Society to Issei. He learned about evil pieces, raiding games, and the structure of the underworld's nobility. So you could turn me into a devil with those chess pieces? Issei asked, eyeing the elegant box on Rias's desk. Theoretically, Rias answered, looking up from her magic circle. Though given your unique nature, I'm not certain it would work conventionally. You're neither human nor fully angel nor fallen. The process might be unpredictable. Is that why Azazel was so against it? Rias smiled. That, and the political implications. The son of a seraph and the governor-general becoming a devil? It would cause an uproar in all three factions. Issei paced the room, trying to process everything. And this Kokabeel guy, he's coming here specifically for me? Not exactly, Aquino interjected. Kokabeel has been a warmonger for millennia. Your existence is just a convenient excuse for him to provoke conflict. Great, Issei muttered. So I'm just the match that lights the powder keg. A knock at the door interrupted their conversation. Kiba answered it, then stepped aside to reveal Issei's parents, his human parents, looking worried but resolute. Mom. Dad. Issei rushed toward them. What are you doing here? His mother embraced him tightly. Azazel contacted us. He explained what happened today. We came as soon as we could, his father added. Are you all right, son? Issei pulled back, studying their faces. You knew. All this time, you knew what I was. It wasn't a question, but his mother answered anyway. Yes. We've known since the day Azazel brought you to us. Why didn't you tell me? His father placed a hand on his shoulder. We wanted to. Many times. But the agreement was clear, your safety depended on you living a normal life, unaware of your heritage until the time was right. We're sorry, Issei, his mother added, tears in her eyes. We never meant to deceive you. We just wanted to protect you. Despite the confusion and hurt, Issei couldn't find it in himself to be angry with them. They had raised him, loved him, been his parents in every way that mattered. It's okay, he said finally. I understand. Rias cleared her throat politely. Mr. and Mrs. Hayadu, I'm Rias Gremory. I apologize for the circumstances of our meeting, but time is short. Azazel has requested that we prepare Issei for tonight. Of course, Mr. Hayadu nodded. We brought what he asked for. He handed Issei a small wooden box. When Issei opened it, he found a pendant inside, a crystal that seemed to contain swirling light and darkness, perfectly balanced. What is this? A gift from your mother, Mrs. Hayadu explained softly. Your birth mother. Azazel said she created it for you before you were hidden away. It's meant to help you control your powers. Issei lifted the pendant carefully. The moment it touched his skin, warmth spread through his body, and the conflicting energies he'd been struggling to contain settled into harmony. It works, he said, surprised. I can feel it, balancing things. Gabriel was always gifted with artifacts, a familiar voice spoke from the doorway. Azazel had returned, though he looked more somber than before. Her pendant will help you channel your abilities without tearing yourself apart. He nodded respectfully to the hiatus. Thank you for bringing it. And for everything you've done for him. Mrs. Hayadu stepped forward boldly. What happens now, Azazel? You promised us 18 years. You said he would have a normal childhood. Circumstances have changed, Azazel replied, not unkindly. Kokobil's faction has forced our hand. Issei's power has awakened prematurely, and we must adapt. Will he still be able to live with us? Mr. Hayadu asked. He's our son, regardless of his heritage. Azazel's expression softened. He will always be your son. And yes, that's still the plan, with additional protections, of course. He turned to Issei. Are you ready? We don't have much time. Ready for what? Issei asked. Training, Azazel answered. Accelerated, I'm afraid. Normally, young Nephilim would have years to master their abilities. You have hours. Issei swallowed hard but nodded. What do I need to do? Azazel gestured to the magic circle on the floor. We're going to a pocket dimension where time flows differently. What will feel like days to us will be only hours here. A time dilation field? Rias asked, impressed. That's high-level magic, even for the Grigori. One of my specialties, Azazel said with a hint of pride. Issei, say your goodbyes. We'll return before dawn. Issei turned to his parents, suddenly afraid. Everything was happening so fast, spinning out of his control. Mom, Dad. They embraced him together, a family hug like they'd shared thousands of times before. But this one felt different, like an ending and a beginning all at once. We'll be waiting for you, his mother whispered. Always. Be safe, his father added. And remember who you are, not just what you are. Issei nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. He turned to Rias and her club members. Thank you. For everything today. Rias smiled. We'll be preparing as well. When you return, we'll stand together against Kokobil. Azazel placed a hand on Issei's shoulder. It's time. Together, they stepped into the magic circle. Light enveloped them, and the club room faded away. The last thing Issei saw was his parents' faces, proud and afraid all at once. Then, they were elsewhere. The pocket dimension resembled a vast desert under an eternally setting sun. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks catching the golden light. A single structure stood nearby, a simple pavilion with pillars of black and white marble. Where are we? Issei asked, gazing around in wonder. Nowhere and everywhere, Azazel answered cryptically. A place between realms where we won't be disturbed. He gestured to the pavilion. This will be your training ground. As they approached, Issei noticed symbols etched into the pillars, angelic script on the white marble, demonic runes on the black. They seemed to shift and change as he looked at them, yet somehow he could understand their meaning. Balance, he read aloud. Harmony. Duality. Azazel looked impressed. You can read them already? Interesting. Your heritage is manifesting strongly. Inside the pavilion, a circular platform stood at the center, divided precisely between black and white stone. Azazel directed Issei to stand at the center point. Your nature is unique, Issei, he began. Half fallen, half holy. These aspects should be in conflict, yet in you, they coexist. The key to your power lies in embracing both sides equally. He pointed to Issei's pendant. Gabriel's gift helps stabilize the conflicting energies, but true mastery will require more. You must learn to channel each aspect independently and then in concert. How do I do that? In answer, Azazel conjured a spear of light in his right hand. Unlike Rainer's weapon, his shone with a brilliance that hurt to look at directly. Light is the domain of angels, he explained. Even fallen angels retain this ability, though our light is different. Corrupted, some would say. Focus on the pendant and extend your left hand. Issei did as instructed, concentrating on the warmth of the crystal against his chest. Energy flowed through him, gathering in his palm until a small sphere of golden light appeared. Good, Azazel nodded approvingly. Now shape it. Imagine a spear, like mine. The sphere elongated, forming a crude approximation of Azazel's weapon. It flickered unsteadily, but held its form. Impressive for a first attempt, Azazel said. Now dismiss it and try again with your right hand. Issei let the light spear fade and switched hands. This time, instead of golden warmth, he felt coolness gathering in his palm, darkness that somehow emitted its own form of light, purple and primal. The power of fallen angels, Azazel explained. Darkness that remembers being light. Shape it as you did before. This felt easier somehow, more natural to Issei. The dark energy formed a perfect spear almost instantly. Interesting, Azazel mused. Your affinity seems stronger with the fallen aspect. Perhaps my influence is more dominant. Is that bad? Issei asked. Not bad, just unexpected. Gabriel's essence is powerful. Azazel shrugged. No matter. Now for the real challenge, manifest both simultaneously. Issei extended both hands, trying to recreate what he'd done during the attack at school. The pendant grew warmer against his skin as he concentrated, drawing forth light in his left hand and darkness in his right. The energies fought each other, trying to cancel out. Sweat beaded on Issei's forehead as he struggled to maintain the delicate balance. Just as both spears began to form, they destabilized, exploding in a flash that knocked him backward. Azazel helped him to his feet. As I expected. The energies naturally repel each other. That's why Nephilim are so rare, the conflicting aspects usually destroy each other before birth. Then how am I possible? Issei asked, brushing dust from his clothes. A complicated expression crossed Azazel's face. Gabriel and I, we aren't typical representatives of our kinds. There's history there, connection that transcends the divisions between our factions. You loved her, Issei realized. Love, Azazel corrected softly. Present tense. Some feelings don't fade, even across millennia. He shook himself, as if dispelling unwanted memories. But that's a story for another time. Let's continue. The training intensified. Hour after hour, Azazel pushed Issei to manifest his powers in different ways, light spears, darkness shields, wings of varying configurations. Sometimes Issei succeeded brilliantly, other times, the conflicting energies backfired painfully. "It's impossible!" Issei finally shouted after a particularly spectacular failure left him sprawled on the ground. These powers weren't meant to coexist. Azazel regarded him calmly. "And yet, here you are, living proof that they can. You're thinking of them as separate forces, but in you, they're aspects of the same whole." He helped Issei up again. "Try something different. Instead of forcing them to work in parallel, let them intertwine. Like braiding rope, separate strands that gain strength together." Issei closed his eyes, focusing on the pendant's warmth. Instead of keeping the energies apart, he imagined them flowing together, light and dark, interweaving without losing their distinct natures. When he opened his eyes and extended his hands, something new formed, a spiral of golden light and purple darkness, twisting around each other without mixing, forming a weapon unlike anything he'd seen before. "A helix spear," Azazel breathed, genuine awe in his voice. "Remarkable." The weapon felt right in Issei's hands, perfectly balanced, neither too heavy with darkness nor too bright with light. When he experimentally thrust it forward, it cut through the air with a sound like singing crystal. "I did it," he said, surprised at how natural it felt. "Indeed you did," Azazel agreed. "And in record time. It seems necessity truly is the mother of invention." They continued training, Issei growing more confident with each success. He learned to manifest his wings at will, to fly short distances, to create shields of interwoven energy that could repel both light and dark attacks. "There's one more technique you should know," Azazel said as the training session neared its end. "Something unique to your heritage that may prove crucial against Kokobel." He instructed Issei to focus his power inward rather than outward. Nephilim possessed the ability to temporarily enhance their physical form with divine and fallen energy simultaneously. We call it ascension. Under Azazel's guidance, Issei drew both energies into himself. The pendant glowed brightly as light and darkness suffused his body, enhancing every muscle, sharpening every sense. His skin took on a subtle luminescence, and his eyes glowed, the left golden, the right violet. "How do you feel?" Azazel asked. "Incredible," Issei breathed. The world seemed clearer, more vibrant. He could hear the whisper of wind across the desert, see individual grains of sand at a distance. When he moved, his body responded instantaneously, without the usual delay between thought and action. "The ascension state is powerful but temporary," Azazel warned. "Maintaining it drains your energy quickly. Use it only when necessary." Issei practiced entering and leaving the enhanced state until he could trigger it at will. By the time Azazel called an end to training, he felt both exhausted and exhilarated, like he discovered muscles he never knew he had and pushed them to their limits. "You've done well," Azazel said, pride evident in his voice. "Better than I expected. You're a quick study, Issei." "I had a good teacher," Issei replied, surprised by how natural it felt to banter with this man he'd only just learned was his father. Azazel smiled, but it quickly faded. "Our time here is almost up. Before we return, there's something you should know about Kokobel." His expression turned serious. He was once among the highest ranks of the Grigori, a general during the Great War. But where many of us have accepted peace, Kokobel craves conflict. He believes that fallen angels should rule over all other factions. And he sees me as a threat to that. You represent something he cannot abide, cooperation between angels and fallen. Your very existence suggests our factions aren't as irreconcilable as he claims. Azazel's eyes narrowed. But more importantly, you're my son. Hurting you is a direct challenge to my leadership. So I'm just a pawn in his political game, Issei said bitterly. Azazel placed a hand on his shoulder. No, Issei. You're the game changer no one expected. Kokobel thinks he's making a bold move, but he doesn't understand what he's truly facing. A fierce smile crossed his face. My son, born of light and darkness, with powers neither angels nor fallen can fully comprehend. He gestured to the portal beginning to form at the edge of the pavilion. It's time to return. Are you ready to face what comes next? Issei touched the pendant at his chest, feeling the balanced energies within him. Ready as I'll ever be. Together, they stepped through the portal, leaving the timeless desert behind. Ahead lay Kuo, dawn, and the coming storm. When they emerged from the portal, the Occult Research Club room was a hub of activity. Rias and Aquino bent over a large map of Kuo, marking positions with glowing symbols. Kiba was sharpening a collection of swords that seemed to appear and disappear at his command, while Kaneko sat quietly in a corner, wrapping her hands with fighting tape. They all looked up as Issei and Azazel appeared. You've returned, Rias observed. And earlier than expected. Azazel nodded. Time flows differently in the training dimension. How go the preparations here? My brother has been notified, Rias replied. He's dispatching reinforcements, but they won't arrive for several hours. Until then, we're on our own. Not entirely, a new voice spoke from the doorway. A beautiful young woman with long black hair tied in a ponytail stepped into the room. She wore the uniform of another school and carried herself with quiet dignity. When she saw Issei, her expression flickered briefly with something like recognition before settling into neutral courtesy. Sona, Rias greeted her. Thank you for coming. Of course, the newcomer replied. Kuo is under our joint protection, after all. She turned to Azazel with a formal bow. Governor General. This is an unexpected honor. Sona Citri, Azazel acknowledged. Your reputation precedes you. I understand your tactical acumen is considerable. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. You're too kind. Her gaze shifted to Issei. And this must be the catalyst for tonight's excitement. Issei bristled at her tone. I didn't ask for any of this. Few of us ask for our destinies, Sona replied evenly. Yet here we are. Rias quickly stepped in. Sona has agreed to provide support with her peerage. They're establishing a perimeter around the school as we speak. 2 devil heiresses, the Grigori's leader, and an Nephilim, Azazel mused. Kokabeel may have bitten off more than he can chew. Sona adjusted her glasses. Let's hope so. Our intelligence suggests he's bringing significant forces, at least 20 fallen angels of varying ranks, plus some other assets. Other assets? Issei asked. Exorcists, Kiba supplied, his voice tight with controlled anger. Stray exorcists who've allied themselves with the fallen. Azazel nodded grimly. Freed Selzen is likely among them. A psychopath, but dangerous. He may have obtained forbidden weapons from Kokabeel. The holy swords, Kiba said, his hands tightening around his weapon. Excalibur fragments. Issei noticed how everyone tensed at those words. There was clearly history there, something personal for Kiba especially. What's the plan? He asked, trying to focus on the immediate threat. Rias unrolled a larger map across the table. We've established 3 defensive lines. Sona's group will maintain a barrier around the entire school grounds to contain the battle and prevent civilian casualties. My peerage will engage the main forces here, she pointed to the front courtyard, while Azazel and Issei intercept Kokabeel himself. Are you sure that's wise? Sona asked. No offense to Hayadakun, but he's only just discovered his abilities. Facing a cadre-class fallen angel seems ambitious. I've seen what he can do, Azazel replied confidently. And he has advantages even Kokabeel won't expect. Before anyone could respond, a tremendous pressure descended over the room. The air itself seemed to thicken, making it difficult to breathe. Outside, the night sky turned an ominous crimson. He's here, Azazel said quietly. Earlier than expected. A massive light spear struck the ground outside, powerful enough that the impact shook the building. Through the window, Issei could see a tall figure hovering in the air, a man with 10 black wings spread wide, wearing ornate armor and a cruel smile. Azazel, the figure boomed, his voice carrying unnaturally across the distance. Send out the abomination. Face the consequences of your treachery. Azazel sighed, as if dealing with a particularly troublesome subordinate. Always so dramatic, Kokabeel. He turned to the others. Stick to the plan. Contain his forces, protect the school. He looked at Issei. Ready for your first real battle, son? Despite the fear coursing through him, Issei felt strangely calm. The pendant warmed against his chest, and he could feel both aspects of his power responding to his call. Ready, he said firmly. Together, they stepped outside to face the storm. The sky had turned blood red, casting an eerie glow over the school grounds. Kokabeel hovered above the central courtyard, his 10 wings spread in an impressive display. Around him floated more than a dozen other fallen angels of various ranks, their black wings stark against the crimson sky. On the ground, a group of white-clad figures moved with unnatural speed, the stray exorcists Kiba had mentioned. Leading them was a man with wild white hair and a maniacal grin, waving a sword that glowed with holy light. Freed, Azazel identified the leader quietly. And he does indeed have an Excalibur fragment. Rapidly, by the look of it. Governor General. Kokabeel called down, his voice dripping with mockery. How kind of you to join us. And you've brought the half-breed, excellent. This will be more efficient than hunting him down. Azazel's expression remained neutral as he stepped forward. Kokabeel. This little rebellion of yours ends now. Return to the Grigori and face proper judgment, and I might be merciful. Kokabeel threw back his head and laughed. Merciful? Like you were merciful when you forbade us from continuing the war. When you preached coexistence with the very beings who cast us out of paradise. His eyes narrowed. And then you committed the ultimate betrayal, lying with a seraph and producing that. He pointed at Issei with undisguised disgust. Issei stepped forward, anger rising within him. You don't even know me. I know what you represent, Kokabeel spat. The dilution of our proud lineage. The corruption of the natural order. Enough posturing, Azazel interrupted. If you want a fight, Kokabeel, you'll have one. But not with the children. At his signal, Rias and her peerage moved into position, while Sona's group began casting a massive barrier around the school perimeter. Kokabeel's smile widened. Oh, I brought playmates for the devil's spawn. He snapped his fingers, and a group of fallen angels descended toward Rias's position. Keep them occupied, he ordered. The Governor-General and his bastard are mine. The battle erupted on multiple fronts simultaneously. Rias and her club members engaged the fallen angels, power of destruction meeting spears of light in explosive collisions. Kiba charged toward the exorcists, his hatred of the holy swords driving him forward like a man possessed. Amidst the chaos, Kokabeel descended to face Azazel and Issei directly. I've waited centuries for this opportunity, Kokabeel said, summoning a massive light spear that crackled with power. To expose your weakness, to show the Grigori that your leadership has failed them. Azazel sighed. You always did talk too much, Kokabeel. He turned to Issei. Remember your training. Follow my lead, but be ready to adapt. With that, he launched himself toward Kokabeel, his own light spear materializing in his hand. The two fallen angel leaders clashed in mid-air, the impact sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Issei watched in awe as his father fought. Azazel moved with the precision of millennia of experience, each strike calculated and powerful. Yet Kokabeel matched him blow for blow, his hatred fueling his strength. Don't just stand there. Azazel called to Issei as he parried a particularly vicious strike. Put that training to use. Snapping out of his daze, Issei focused on his pendant, drawing forth the dual energies within him. His wings, one black, one white, erupted from his back, and he took to the air. Kokabeel noticed his approach and laughed. The fledgling joins the fray. How touching. He hurled a light spear directly at Issei, who barely managed to dodge. The weapon grazed his shoulder, burning through his uniform and searing his skin. First lesson of aerial combat, Kokabeel taunted. Always watch your blind spots. A second spear came from behind, catching Issei off guard. He tumbled through the air, struggling to regain control of his wings. Issei! Azazel called out in concern, creating an opening that Kokabeel immediately exploited. A powerful blow sent Azazel crashing into the school building. Now for you, abomination, Kokabeel growled, turning his full attention to Issei. Fear threatened to overwhelm him, but Issei forced it down. He remembered Azazel's training, the hours spent mastering his unique abilities. With newfound determination, he stabilized his flight and faced Kokabeel head-on. I'm not an abomination, he declared, feeling the pendant grow warm with power. I'm Nephilim. The first of my kind. He extended both hands, weaving light and darkness together as he practiced. The helix spear formed perfectly, its twisted energies humming with potential. Kokabeel's eyes widened slightly. Impossible. You cannot control both aspects simultaneously. Watch me, Issei replied, and launched himself forward. The helix spear met Kokabeel's light weapon with a thunderous crack. Instead of breaking, as Kokabeel clearly expected, Issei's creation sliced through the fallen angel's spear, dissipating it instantly. Surprise registered on Kokabeel's face, quickly replaced by fury. A lucky counter, he snarled, creating 2 more spears. Let's see how you handle real combat. What followed was a desperate aerial battle. Kokabeel attacked relentlessly, his experience and power forcing Issei on the defensive. Yet with each exchange, Issei grew more confident, his instincts sharpening, his reflexes improving. Below them, the battle raged across the school grounds. Rias and Aquino fought back-to-back against multiple fallen angels, while Kaneko dealt with the exorcists on the ground. Kiba had engaged Freed directly, their swords clashing in a deadly dance. Azazel recovered from Kokabeel's attack and rejoined the aerial fight. Not bad, son, he called to Issei as they momentarily fought side by side. But he's holding back. Be ready for his real power. As if on cue, Kokabeel rose higher into the air, his wings spreading wider. Enough games, he growled. I'll show you the power of a true war veteran. Light gathered around him, not just in his hands but engulfing his entire body. The crimson sky darkened further as he drew more power, his form beginning to glow like a malevolent star. Spear of Dawn, he roared, and hurled a massive light construct downward, not at Azazel or Issei, but at the school itself. No! Issei shouted, diving to intercept it. The spear was too large, too powerful to deflect with his weapons. Acting on instinct, he extended both hands and poured all his energy into creating a shield, light and darkness interwoven in a desperate defense. The impact was catastrophic. Issei's shield held for a crucial moment, allowing Rias and Sona to reinforce their own barriers, but the force sent him plummeting to the ground. He crashed through trees and finally slammed into the earth, creating a small crater. Pain radiated through his body. He tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't support him. His wings had retracted involuntarily, and he could taste blood in his mouth. Issei. Rias appeared beside him, concern etched on her face. Don't move. You're injured. Can't, stop, he gasped. Kokabeel, too strong. My brother's reinforcements are almost here, she assured him. Just hold on a little longer. Above them, Azazel and Kokabeel continued their battle, but even Issei could see his father was being pushed back. Whatever power Kokabeel had unleashed, it was formidable enough to challenge even the Governor-General. I need to help him, Issei insisted, forcing himself to stand despite the pain. Rias placed a hand on his chest. You can barely stand. What can you possibly, Ascension, Issei whispered, remembering Azazel's final lesson. It was risky in his weakened state, but he had no choice. He clutched the pendant, focusing inward. Light and darkness answered his call, flowing through his veins, suffusing every cell. Pain vanished as his body transformed, enhanced by the dual energies of his heritage. Rias stepped back, eyes wide. What is this power? Issei didn't answer. He couldn't waste words or time. His wings reappeared, larger and more vibrant than before, the white wing glowing golden, the black wing shimmering with purple energy. His eyes glowed with the same dual colors as he launched himself back into the sky. The battlefield below seemed to slow as his enhanced senses processed everything simultaneously. He could see Kiba struggling against Freed, the exorcist's holy sword giving him a dangerous advantage. Akino was wounded but still fighting, lightning crackling around her. Kaneko protected an exhausted Sona, whose barrier was beginning to falter. And above it all, Azazel fought a losing battle against Kokobeel's unleashed power. Time to end this, Issei thought, and accelerated toward the combatants. Kokobeel didn't notice his approach until it was too late. Focused on Azazel, he failed to sense the Nephilim until Issei slammed into him from behind, driving them both toward the ground. They crashed into the sports field, creating a massive impact crater. Kokobeel recovered first, rage contorting his features. "You dare," he snarled, light gathering around his fists. "I will erase you from existence." Issei rose to face him, his ascension state making him glow with power. "You can try." Kokobeel attacked with everything he had, spears, blasts, even direct physical strikes. But in his enhanced state, Issei could anticipate each move, countering with combinations of light and darkness that the fallen angel had never faced before. "What are you?" Kokobeel demanded as one of Issei's helix spears penetrated his defense, wounding his shoulder. "I told you," Issei replied calmly, gathering more power between his hands. "I'm Nephilim. Not angel, not fallen, not devil. Something new." The fight intensified as Kokobeel realized he was genuinely threatened. He abandoned all pretense of restraint, pouring destructive power into each attack. The sports field became a wasteland of craters and burning debris as their powers collided. Issei felt his ascension state beginning to waver. The enhancement was draining his reserves quickly, as Azazel had warned. He needed to end this soon. An opportunity came when Kokobeel overextended during a particularly powerful attack. Issei sidestepped the light blast and closed the distance between them instantly. His right hand, wreathed in darkness, grabbed Kokobeel's left wing, while his left hand, glowing with holy light, seized the fallen angel's throat. "Impossible!" Kokobeel choked out. "No being can wield both holy and fallen power simultaneously." "I can," Issei stated simply. "And that's why you'll never understand what I represent. Not corruption or abomination, but reconciliation. The possibility that light and darkness can coexist." Using his grip on Kokobeel's wing, Issei spun and hurled the fallen angel across the field. Before Kokobeel could recover, Issei gathered all his remaining power into one final attack. Duality Spear, he named it as the perfect helix of light and darkness formed between his palms, larger and more potent than any he'd created before. Kokobeel saw it coming and desperately tried to defend himself, creating a shield of pure light. But when Issei's spear struck, it pierced through as if the barrier weren't even there. The weapon impaled Kokobeel through the shoulder, pinning him to the ground. He screamed in agony as the dual energies coursed through him, light and darkness battling within his form. "Kill me then," he spat, glaring up at Issei. "Finish what you started, half-breed." Issei stood over him, his ascension state flickering as his power neared exhaustion. "That's not why I fought you." Azazel landed beside them, looking battered but triumphant. "Well done, son." The rest of the battlefield had gone quiet. The other fallen angels, seeing their leader defeated, had either fled or surrendered. The exorcists, including Freed, had been captured by the devil groups. "It's over, Kokobeel," Azazel declared. Your rebellion has failed. Kokabeel laughed bitterly. Over. This is just the beginning. Do you think heaven will ignore the existence of that? He jerked his head toward Issei. The child of an angel and a fallen? They'll send the throne guardians, the powers themselves. This boy's very existence violates every covenant since the fall. Let me worry about heaven, Azazel replied calmly. For now, you face the judgment of the Grigori. As he spoke, a massive transportation circle appeared nearby. From it emerged several imposing figures with multiple wings, high-ranking fallen angels loyal to Azazel. Take him to Cocytus, Azazel ordered. Maximum security. I'll deal with him personally when I return. As the fallen angels secured Kokabeel, Issei's ascension state finally gave out. The power drained from him all at once, leaving him swaying on his feet. His wings retracted involuntarily, and the glow faded from his eyes. Whoa there, Azazel caught him before he could collapse. That was quite a display, but you've pushed yourself too far. Did we win? Issei asked weakly. Azazel smiled. We did. Thanks largely to you. Rias and the others approached, looking battered but victorious. The barrier is holding, she reported. No humans witnessed the battle. Good, Azazel nodded. Kokabeel's forces are neutralized. The immediate danger has passed. And what about the not-so-immediate danger? Sona asked pointedly, glancing at Issei. Kokabeel's accusations weren't entirely baseless. Heaven won't ignore this. No, Azazel agreed. They won't. He looked down at Issei, who was struggling to stay conscious. But that's tomorrow's problem. Tonight, we celebrate a victory and let our young hero rest. As if on cue, Issei's legs gave out completely. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was Azazel's concerned face and, behind him, a flash of golden light that reminded him of something, or someone, he couldn't quite place. Issei awoke in his own bedroom, sunlight streaming through the curtains. For a moment, he wondered if everything had been a particularly vivid dream, the revelation about his parentage, the training with Azazel, the battle with Kokabeel. Then he noticed the pendant still hanging around his neck, and the lingering ache in muscles he'd never used before yesterday. Not a dream, then. He sat up carefully, surprised to find his injuries mostly healed. Only a few bruises remained as evidence of the brutal fight. The wonders of supernatural healing, a familiar voice observed from the corner of the room. Issei turned to find Azazel seated in his desk chair, casually flipping through a manga volume. Your collection is impressive, the fallen angel leader remarked with a grin. Though I might suggest broadening your horizons beyond the eki genre. Issei flushed. What are you doing in my room? Waiting for you to wake up, Azazel replied, setting down the manga. You've been out for nearly 24 hours. Quite understandable, given the power you expended. 24 hours. Issei repeated, shocked. What happened after I passed out? Is everyone okay? Azazel nodded reassuringly. Everyone survived. Some injuries, but nothing permanent. The devils have repaired most of the damage to the school through magic. By Monday, no one will know a battle was fought there. And Kokabeel? Secured in the deepest level of our prison dimension, Azazel said with satisfaction. He'll have centuries to reconsider his life choices. Issei touched the pendant absently. He said heaven would come for me. That my existence violates some covenant. A shadow passed over Azazel's face. Kokabeel wasn't entirely wrong. The birth of a Nephilim, especially one born of a seraph and a cadre-level fallen, breaks certain understood boundaries between our factions. So what happens now? Now, Azazel said, rising from the chair, we prepare for the next phase. Your power has been revealed, which means we can stop hiding and start training you properly. More training. Issei groaned. Azazel laughed. Don't worry, not immediately. You've earned a rest. His expression turned more serious. But yes, eventually. What you did against Kokabeel was impressive but raw. With proper instruction, you could become something truly extraordinary. A knock at the door interrupted them. Mrs. Hayadu peeked in, her face lighting up when she saw Issei awake. "You're up," she exclaimed, hurrying to his bedside. "How do you feel, sweetheart?" "Still tired," Issei admitted. "But okay. I've made breakfast," she said, smoothing his hair affectionately. "And your friends are downstairs waiting to see you." "Friends?" Issei asked, confused. "The Gremory girl and her group," Azazel explained. "They've been quite concerned about you." Mrs. Hayadu gave Azazel a pointed look that Issei couldn't quite interpret. "They've been very polite, but perhaps you shouldn't keep them waiting too long." Azazel raised his hands in surrender. Message received. "I'll give you some privacy to get dressed, Issei." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and there's one more visitor downstairs. Someone rather special who's been waiting a long time to meet you properly." With that cryptic statement, he left, closing the door behind him. "Who's he talking about?" Issei asked his mother. Mrs. Hayadu's eyes glistened slightly. "Someone very important to you, Issei. Someone who loves you very much." She patted his hand. "Get dressed and come down when you're ready." Curiosity propelled Issei through his morning routine faster than usual. Despite the lingering fatigue, he felt strangely energized, like his body was operating on a different frequency than before. When he reached the bottom of the stairs, he found his living room transformed into an impromptu gathering. Rias, Akino, Kiba, and Kaneko sat around the coffee table, accepting tea from his father. Azazel leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching everyone with amused interest. But it was the woman seated in the armchair by the window who captured Issei's attention completely. She was breathtakingly beautiful, tall and graceful, with golden hair that seemed to glow with its own light. Her features were perfect, her eyes a blue so pure it was almost painful to look at directly. She wore simple white robes that somehow appeared more regal than any formal gown. When she saw Issei, she rose to her feet in a single fluid motion. "Hello, Issei," she said, her voice like music. "It's been a very long time." Something in Issei recognized her instantly. The pendant warmed against his chest, responding to her presence. "Mother," he whispered. Gabriel, seraph of heaven, smiled at her son, a smile of such pure joy and love that everyone in the room felt its warmth. "My son," she said simply, opening her arms. Issei moved without conscious thought, crossing the room and stepping into her embrace. The moment they touched, a sense of completeness washed over him, like a piece of himself he hadn't known was missing had suddenly been restored. Gabriel held him tightly, her wings, 12 magnificent white wings, appearing briefly to enfold them both. "I've waited so long for this moment," she whispered against his hair. "To hold you again. To see the man you've become." When they finally separated, Issei saw tears shimmering in her perfect eyes, tears that somehow crystallized into tiny diamonds as they fell. "I have so many questions," he said, overwhelmed by the emotions coursing through him. Gabriel touched his face gently. "And you shall have answers, my son. All of them." But first, she glanced around the room at the assembled company. "I believe we have matters of more immediate concern to discuss." Azazel stepped forward. "Gabriel's right. Last night's events have accelerated our timeline considerably. Heaven is aware of your emergence, Issei, as is the underworld. Representatives from both factions will be seeking contact." "What does that mean for me?" Issei asked, looking between his biological parents. "It means," Gabriel said softly, "that you have choices to make. Your heritage grants you options few others would have." Rias cleared her throat politely. "If I may, Issei's demonstration of power against Kokabeel was remarkable. Many factions will be interested in recruiting him. Including devils? Azazel asked with a raised eyebrow. Uriel smiled diplomatically. We would be remiss not to recognize his potential. However, she added quickly, recent events have made it clear that Issei's path is unique. Whatever role he chooses, the House of Gremory offers alliance rather than servitude. Gabriel nodded approvingly. Wise words from one so young. Issei looked around the room, at his human parents who had raised him with love, at Uriel and her group who had fought beside him, at Azazel, his biological father, powerful and enigmatic, and at Gabriel, his mother, radiating warmth and compassion. What if I don't want to choose a faction? He asked suddenly. What if I want to be something else entirely? Azazel's eyes gleamed with interest. Such as? A bridge, Issei said, the idea forming as he spoke. Not angel, not fallen, not devil, but something that connects them all. Isn't that what an Nephilim could be? A symbol that our differences aren't as absolute as everyone thinks. Gabriel and Azazel exchanged a look that contained volumes of unspoken communication. A bold vision, Gabriel said finally. And not without merit. It won't be easy, Azazel warned. There are traditions and prejudices older than human civilization to overcome. I didn't say it would be easy, Issei countered. Just worthwhile. A smile spread across Azazel's face. Well then. Perhaps Kokabeel was right about one thing, you do represent something unprecedented. Not an abomination, but a revolution. The first of a new kind, Gabriel agreed softly. Neither bound by heaven's rigid hierarchy nor driven by the fallen's rebellious nature. Free to forge your own path. With help, of course, Uriel added. You don't have to do it alone. Issei touched the pendant that united both aspects of his heritage. I'm not alone. I never was. He looked around at the unlikely gathering, angels, fallen angels, devils, and humans, all united in this moment. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what I'm meant to show everyone. Outside, the morning sun broke fully through the clouds, casting golden light across the room. In that illumination, standing between his two extraordinary parents, Issei Hayadu, the first Nephilim, son of light and darkness, felt the weight of destiny settling on his shoulders. But for the first time since his awakening, it didn't feel like a burden. It felt like wings. Chapter 2, Heritage. The training room in Azazel's underground facility hummed with energy as Issei faced off against his third opponent of the day. Sweat dripped down his face, his muscles burned, and the pendant around his neck glowed with a steady pulse of light and darkness. Again, Azazel called from the sidelines. And this time, don't hold back. Issei nodded, summoning his mismatched wings, one black, one white, and launching himself at his sparring partner. The fallen angel, a stocky guy named Barakiel with 8 impressive wings, met him head-on. Light spears clashed against Issei's helix creation, sending sparks flying across the room. Your left side's open. Barakiel shouted, driving a light spear toward Issei's ribs. Issei twisted mid-air, his white wing curling protectively around his torso. The spear glanced off the feathers, leaving them smoking slightly but unharmed. Better. Azazel called approvingly. Using your wings defensively, good instinct. 2 weeks had passed since the battle with Kokabeel, and Issei's life had transformed completely. School during the day, supernatural training every evening. His body ached constantly from pushing limits he hadn't known he had, while his mind reeled from the crash course in celestial politics. Barakiel pressed his advantage, unleashing a barrage of attacks that forced Issei into a defensive retreat. The older fallen angel moved with practiced efficiency, each strike perfectly placed. Don't just defend. Azazel shouted. Find an opening. Easier said than done. Barakiel was Azazel's lieutenant for a reason. But Issei wasn't the same inexperienced kid who'd stumbled into his powers against Rainier. He'd been training relentlessly, and his instincts were sharper. There, a slight hesitation as Barakiel prepared another attack. Issei dropped suddenly, ducking under the expected strike and sweeping upward with his helix spear. The weapon caught Barakiel by surprise, slicing through his guard and stopping a hair's breadth from his throat. Silence fell over the training room. Then Barakiel laughed, a booming sound that echoed off the walls. "Not bad, kid. Not bad at all." He lowered his weapons, signaling the end of the match. Issei let his spear dissolve and landed, panting from exertion. "Thanks. You didn't make it easy." "Wouldn't be much training if I did," Barakiel replied, clapping him on the shoulder hard enough to make him stagger. Azazel approached, tossing Issei a towel. "Your reaction speed is improving. That feint at the end was particularly clever." "I still feel slow," Issei admitted, wiping sweat from his face. "Everyone I fight has centuries of experience. I've had 2 weeks. And you're alive to complain about it," Azazel pointed out dryly. "Most wouldn't be, in your position." Barakiel nodded in agreement. "The kid's a natural, Azazel. Must be those genetics." Issei had noticed that Barakiel always seemed uncomfortable around him, not hostile, exactly, but guarded. Something about the way the lieutenant looked at him suggested personal history Issei wasn't privy to. "That's enough for today," Azazel declared. "Barakiel, thank you for the assistance." The lieutenant bowed slightly and left without another word, his massive wings folding away as he exited. "What's his deal?" Issei asked once they were alone. "He always seems. I don't know, weirded out by me." Azazel hesitated, then sighed. "It's complicated. Barakiel has his own history with humans and mixed heritage individuals." "That's vague." "Intentionally so," Azazel replied with a smirk. "His story is his to tell, not mine." Issei dropped onto a bench, gulping water from a nearby bottle. "Fine, keep your secrets. But speaking of stories, when are you going to tell me the rest of yours and Mom's? How exactly did an angel and a fallen angel make me? Everyone keeps saying it should be impossible." Azazel's expression turned uncharacteristically serious. "You're right. You deserve the full story." He gestured to the door. "Get cleaned up. Meet me in my study in 20 minutes. Azazel's study looked like what would happen if a mad scientist, a museum curator, and a luxury hotel designer collaborated on a single room. Ancient texts shared shelf space with cutting-edge technology. Artifacts that pulsed with power sat beside half-assembled gadgets. The furniture, at least, was comfortable, plush leather chairs arranged around a low table currently laden with food. "Figured you'd be hungry after training," Azazel explained as Issei entered. "Growing Nephilim need their strength." Issei didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed a sandwich and collapsed into one of the chairs. "So. Story time." Azazel poured 2 glasses of something amber from a crystal decanter. He handed one to Issei, who sniffed it suspiciously. "Apple juice," Azazel assured him. "I save the good stuff for myself." He raised his own glass in a small toast before taking a sip. "Before the fall," he began without preamble, "Gabriel and I were close. Not in a romantic sense, such concepts didn't really exist among angels then. But we worked together frequently, 2 of the brightest in our respective spheres." "What exactly did angels do back then?" "Created, mostly. Stars, natural laws, concepts. I specialized in knowledge and illumination. Gabriel is, the messenger, the voice of divine will." His eyes took on a distant quality. "We helped build universes," Issei. It was magnificent. The weight of that statement hung in the air between them. Issei tried to imagine it, his parents as cosmic architects, shaping reality itself. "Then came the fall," Azazel continued. "Lucifer's rebellion split heaven. Those who questioned were cast out. I was among them." "What did you question?" A smile touched Azazel's lips. "Humanity. Your purpose, your potential. While others saw only the flaws, I saw possibility. It was enough to mark me as a rebel. He rose, moving to a shelf where a small golden feather rested under glass. Gabriel remained loyal to heaven, of course. For millennia, we were enemies by definition if not by choice. The Great War consumed us all, angels, fallen, devils. Countless died. But somewhere in all that, you and Mom. Patience, Azazel chided. I'm getting there. He returned to his seat, swirling the liquid in his glass. About 50 years ago, something unprecedented happened. A peace conference, the first real attempt at dialogue between the three factions since the war began. I represented the Grigori. Sirzek's Lucifer spoke for the devils. And Gabriel came for heaven. That's when you reconnected? Azazel nodded. The conference lasted months. Old wounds reopened, ancient grievances aired. Progress was painfully slow. During breaks in negotiations, Gabriel and I would sometimes walk together, remembering what had been before. One conversation led to another, and another. His expression softened with the memory. We found that despite everything, the fall, the war, millennia of separation, something remained between us. Something neither heaven nor hell could touch. You fell in love, Issei said softly. We discovered love, Azazel corrected. A concept neither of us fully understood before. Angels aren't meant to feel such things, not in the human sense. And fallen angels typically experience emotions as corrupted versions of their original form. He leaned forward, eyes intent on Issei. What happened between Gabriel and me shouldn't have been possible. Angels who develop romantic feelings typically fall. But Gabriel didn't. Somehow, her love remained pure while mine was, well, less so. How romantic, Issei deadpanned. Azazel laughed. The point is, our connection existed in a loophole no one had anticipated. Not human love, not angelic unity, but something unique. And from that unique bond, you were conceived, another impossibility. When did you realize what had happened? Almost immediately. Your energy signature was distinctive. Gabriel glowed with it. His expression darkened. We knew instantly what it meant. If heaven discovered Gabriel had conceived a child with a fallen angel, even one who hadn't fallen through lust, the consequences would be severe. They would have killed her. Issei asked, horrified. No, but they might have cast her out. Or worse, they might have tried to. Azazel paused, seeming to search for the right words. Purify the situation. Which would have meant eliminating you before your birth. Issei felt cold despite the room's comfortable temperature. And your side? The fallen angels. Some would have seen you as an abomination, others as a weapon to be used against heaven. Azazel's voice hardened. Neither option was acceptable. So you hid us. Azazel nodded. Gabriel carried you in secret, away from heaven's all-seeing eyes. I prepared safe houses, contingencies, protections. When you were born, he stopped, a rare display of emotion crossing his face. When you were born, your wings were already manifest. One white, one black. There could be no denying what you were. The first Nephilim, Issei murmured. The first of your kind, Azazel agreed. We had only days together, the three of us, before reality intruded. Heaven began to suspect something. Gabriel had been absent too long. Decisions had to be made quickly. That's when you found my parents, my human parents. The hiatus had been trying to conceive for years without success. They were kind, stable, and most importantly, they lived in a town where I had established a base of operations centuries earlier. The ley lines under Ko create natural distortions in spiritual detection, perfect for hiding something as unique as you. He set down his glass. Gabriel crafted your pendant, a masterwork of celestial artifice designed to suppress and stabilize your powers until you were ready. I modified your human parents' memories, giving them a perfectly ordinary backstory for their perfectly ordinary son. And then you left me, Issei finished, unable to keep the hurt from his voice. Azazel met his gaze steadily. We entrusted you to them. There's a difference. Neither Gabriel nor I ever truly left you, Issei. She watched from afar, sending small blessings through your pendant. I established myself nearby, monitoring potential threats. We were always present, just invisible to you. Issei absorbed this, turning the pendant between his fingers. The dual energies within it felt different now that he knew its origins, his mother's final gift before their separation. Why now? He asked finally. Why did my powers start awakening after 16 years? The pendant was designed to gradually allow your powers to emerge as you matured. But something accelerated the process. Azazel frowned. When Rias Gremory and her peerage moved into Kuo, it created ripples in the supernatural community. Other factions took notice. Rainier was dispatched to investigate, and somehow she sensed something in you, likely because you're partially fallen angel yourself. Her attack triggered my awakening, Issei realized. Literally triggered it. When she tried to kill me. Defense mechanism, Azazel nodded. Built into the pendant's design. If your life was threatened, it would release enough power to protect you. And once the genie was out of the bottle. No putting it back, Azazel confirmed. Once your powers began to manifest, full awakening was inevitable. Kokabeel simply accelerated an already unfolding process. Issei sat back, trying to process everything. His entire existence was essentially a cosmic accident, the result of an impossible love between enemies. His life as an ordinary human had been an elaborate fiction designed to protect him. So what happens now? He asked. I'm awake. I'm training. Where does this all lead? Azazel smiled enigmatically. That, my boy, is entirely up to you. You're neither angel nor fallen nor human. Traditional paths don't apply to you. That's not a real answer. No, it's not, Azazel agreed cheerfully. Because there is no predetermined answer. You're unique in all creation, Issei. A bridge between worlds that should never have connected. What you become is your choice to make. A soft chime interrupted their conversation. Azazel glanced at his watch and stood. Speaking of choices, you have another training session in 10 minutes. This one's a bit different from what you've been doing with Barakiel. Different how? You'll see, Azazel replied with a mischievous glint in his eye. Let's just say it involves a different aspect of your heritage. The different training turned out to involve not fallen angels but devils, specifically, Rias and her peerage. They waited in a larger training hall, one equipped with various obstacles and terrain features. Issei. Rias called as he entered. Ready for some real combat practice? As opposed to the fake combat practice I've been doing, he replied, still sore from Barakiel's beatdown. Aquino laughed, the sound both delicate and slightly unnerving. Fallen angel training tends to be individualistic. We devils take a more strategic approach. Azazel clapped his hands together. Today's exercise is simple, capture the flag. Devils versus Nephilim. The flag is placed in the center arena. He pointed to a raised platform where a glowing object hovered. First team to secure it wins. Issei looked at the four devils, then back at Azazel. That's hardly fair. It's 4 against 1. Life rarely is fair, Azazel shrugged. Besides, you've been training with the Grigori's second-in-command. Show them what you've learned. Before Issei could protest further, Azazel stepped back and a barrier shimmered into place around the training arena. Begin. The devils moved instantly, spreading out in what was clearly a practiced formation. Kiba and Kaneko took the front positions while Aquino elevated herself on her devil wings. Rias remained slightly behind, directing their movements with subtle hand signals. Surround and isolate, Issei muttered, recognizing the tactic from his reading on devil battle strategies. They intended to cut off his escape routes and overwhelm him with coordinated attacks. Not happening. He summoned his mismatched wings and shot straight up, faster than they anticipated. Akino reacted quickly, lightning crackling between her fingers as she launched an attack to cut off his aerial advantage. Issei twisted, his white wing absorbing most of the electrical discharge. It stung, but not nearly as badly as it would have without his angelic protection. Impressive. Akino called. But how will you handle this? The lightning intensified, forcing Issei to dive to avoid the brunt of it. As he descended, Kaneko launched herself from a nearby platform, her small fist packing enough force to crack concrete. Issei barely managed to dodge, feeling the wind from her strike rush past his face. Geez, Kaneko. Are you trying to take my head off? The white-haired girl shrugged. You'd heal. Before he could respond, Kiba appeared behind him, moving with blinding speed. The knight's sword, a demonic blade that seemed to drink in light, slashed toward Issei's wings. Pure instinct saved him. Issei conjured his helix spear in time to parry the strike, the clash of energies creating a shockwave that pushed them both back. Good reflexes, Kiba acknowledged with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. But you're surrounded. He was right. Somehow during the exchange, the devils had maneuvered Issei away from the central platform. Rias now stood directly between him and the flag, crimson energy swirling around her hands. Yield, Issei, she suggested. You're outmatched and outmaneuvered. Issei felt a smile tug at his lips. Maybe. But you're forgetting something important. Oh. Rias raised an elegant eyebrow. I'm not just training with fallen angels. With that, Issei triggered his ascension state. The transformation was faster now, more controlled. His body glowed with dual energies, his eyes shining gold and violet. Enhanced senses allowed him to track all four devils simultaneously, while the power surging through his muscles made him feel weightless. Now then, he said, his voice resonating with newfound confidence. Let's try this again. He moved, and even Kiba's eyes widened at his speed. Issei shot past the knight, feinting toward Akino before abruptly changing direction. Kaneko tried to intercept him, but he used his wings to propel himself over her, twisting in mid-air to avoid her grasping hands. That left only Rias between him and the flag. Power of destruction, she called, unleashing a wave of crimson energy. Issei didn't try to dodge. Instead, he extended both hands, one radiating golden light, the other dark energy. Where they met, a shield formed, not the rough defensive barrier he'd used against Kokobile, but a refined disk of interwoven energies. Rias's attack splashed against it like water on stone, dissipating harmlessly. The devil heiress's eyes widened in surprise. How did you? Issei didn't wait for her to finish. Using his momentum, he vaulted over her, wings spread wide. His hand closed around the flag just as Akino's lightning struck him from behind. Pain lanced through him, but he maintained his grip. Got it, he called triumphantly, holding the flag aloft despite the electricity still coursing through his body. The barrier around the arena dissolved as Azazel slow clapped from the sidelines. Well done, everyone. Especially you, Issei. Using ascension in a controlled exercise shows real progress. The devils gathered around, looking impressed despite their defeat. Your shield stopped my power of destruction completely, Rias noted. I've never seen anything neutralize it so effectively. The duality of his nature, Akino observed. Light and darkness together create something new, something that can counter powers from either realm. Issei let his ascension state fade, feeling the familiar exhaustion that followed. Still drains me, though. I couldn't maintain it for a prolonged fight. That will improve with training, Azazel assured him. Stamina builds over time. Kaneko approached, head tilted curiously. You smell different in that form. More balanced. Less confusing. Thanks. Issei replied, never quite sure how to respond to Kaniko's unusual observations. Kiba sheathed his sword, studying Issei with new respect. You've improved considerably since the Kokobile incident. Your movements are more deliberate, less reactive. I've had good teachers, Issei acknowledged, glancing at Azazel. The fallen angel leader waved off the compliment. Raw talent helps. Speaking of which, he checked his watch, we have another visitor arriving shortly. Someone quite eager to meet our young Nephilim. Another trainer? Issei asked hopefully. As much as he appreciated learning from Azazel and Gabriel, their teaching methods tended toward the throw him in the deep end philosophy. Not exactly, Azazel replied with a cryptic smile. Someone from your mother's side of the family tree, you might say. The visitor turned out to be an angel, a real, full-blooded angel with 6 pristine white wings and a golden halo that shimmered just above his perfectly coiffed blonde hair. He wore an immaculate white suit that seemed to glow softly in the artificial light of Azazel's facility. Dulio Gesualdo, he introduced himself with an easy smile and an outstretched hand. Pleasure to meet you, Issei Hayudu. Issei shook his hand, surprised by the lack of ceremony. Nice to meet you too. You're from heaven. Indeed. I serve as the Joker in Lord Michael's Brave Saints. Think of me as heaven's troubleshooter. His eyes twinkled merrily. And you, my friend, qualify as quite the trouble from certain perspectives. Despite the words, there was no malice in his tone, just good-natured amusement. Issei found himself liking the angel immediately. Lord Michael sent you, he asked, suddenly nervous. Michael was the leader of heaven's forces, effectively Gabriel's boss. Not officially, Dulio clarified, shooting a meaningful glance at Azazel. This visit is more of a friendly reconnaissance. I happen to be in the neighborhood, so to speak. Meaning Gabriel asked you to check on her son without alerting the higher-ups, Azazel translated dryly. Dulio's smile never faltered. I neither confirm nor deny that interpretation. But while I'm here, perhaps I could offer some perspective on the angelic side of your heritage. Governor Azazel has surely covered the fallen aspects thoroughly. That would be great, Issei agreed eagerly. Though he'd been training his powers extensively, most of his instruction had indeed come from fallen angels, who naturally emphasized their own abilities. Excellent. Dulio clapped his hands together. Let's start with something basic, blessing objects. Blessing, objects. A fundamental angelic ability, Dulio explained. Investing items with holy energy for various effects. He picked up a nearby water bottle and held it between his palms. A soft golden glow surrounded his hands, then sank into the bottle. Try some, he offered. Issei took a cautious sip of the blessed water. It tasted purer somehow, refreshing in a way that went beyond physical thirst. Energy seemed to flow through him from the simple drink. Holy water, Dulio explained. Basic but useful. Devils can't touch it without suffering burns. It purifies minor curses, cleanses wound sites, and makes a fantastic tea base. You use holy water, for tea? Issei asked, incredulous. Waste not, want not, Dulio replied with a wink. Now you try. Focus your light energy, just the light, not the darkness, into an object. Imagine purifying and enhancing its natural properties. Issei concentrated on a spare water bottle, channeling energy through his left hand, the one that naturally conducted his angelic power. Golden light flickered around his fingers, somewhat dimmer than Dulio's but definitely present. The water inside began to glow faintly. When Issei released it, the bottle seemed slightly warmer than before. Dulio took an experimental sip. Not bad for a first attempt. A bit weak, and there's a trace of something else. Your dual nature makes its mark even when you try to separate the energies. Is that bad? Not bad, Dulio considered. Just different. Your holy water has properties I've never encountered before. It's purifying but also energizing. Interesting. They continued with other basic angelic abilities, sensing evil, creating barriers of light, minor healing techniques. With each exercise, the pattern repeated. Issei could perform the angelic function, but his dual nature always influenced the result in unexpected ways. Fascinating, Dulio remarked after several hours of practice. You're not simply half angel, half fallen. You're something genuinely new, a synthesis rather than a mixture. Azazel says something similar, Issei admitted. That I shouldn't try to be both separately, but embrace being Nephilim as its own thing. Wise advice, surprisingly, Dulio said with a grin. Don't tell him I said that. Azazel, who had been observing from nearby, snorted. I heard that, Joker. You were meant to, Governor, Dulio replied cheerfully. He turned back to Issei. One last lesson before I go, one I think you'll particularly appreciate. Have you attempted flight with just your angel wing yet? Issei shook his head. I've always used both together. Try it, Dulio encouraged. Angel wings have special properties. Different from fallen wings. Under Dulio's guidance, Issei manifested only his white wing. It felt strangely unbalanced, like trying to write with his non-dominant hand. Yet as he focused on it, the wings seemed to grow stronger, more substantial. Now, focus on a destination, Dulio instructed. Not just a physical location, but a person. Someone you feel a connection to. Issei thought immediately of his mother, his birth mother. Gabriel. Though their time together had been brief since his awakening, the connection between them felt primal, unbreakable. The white wing glowed brighter. A circle of light formed beneath Issei's feet, intricate symbols appearing within it. A transportation circle, Azazel observed with interest. Divine variant. Angels don't need complex magic for transportation, Dulio explained. We simply go where we're needed. Or where our heart calls us. The light intensified around Issei, enveloping him in a warm glow. For a moment, he felt weightless, as if reality itself had become fluid around him. Then, abruptly, the light vanished. Issei stumbled, disoriented by the sudden shift. When his vision cleared, he found himself no longer in Azazel's training facility but in an entirely different space. He stood in what appeared to be a garden pavilion. Sunlight, brighter and somehow more real than earthly sunshine, streamed through columns of white marble. Flowers that defied description bloomed along pathways of golden stone. The air itself seemed to shimmer with energy, each breath filling Issei with vitality. Heaven, he whispered, understanding instinctively where he must be. The sixth heaven, to be precise, a melodious voice confirmed from behind him. My personal domain. Issei turned to find Gabriel standing among the flowers. She wore simpler robes than during their meeting at his home, less formal, more relaxed. Her 12 wings were partially unfurled, catching the divine light in ways that created halos of color around her. Mom, he said, the word still strange on his tongue but feeling right nonetheless. Gabriel smiled, and the garden seemed to brighten in response. My son. You've learned to use angelic transportation already? Impressive. I didn't exactly mean to, Issei admitted. Dulio was teaching me about angel wings, and I thought of you, and then. He gestured vaguely at their surroundings. The heart knows its own path, Gabriel said softly. Especially here, where intention and reality are closely aligned. She approached him, studying his face with undisguised wonder. You look more like your father every day, yet I see myself in your eyes. Is it safe for me to be here? Issei asked, suddenly concerned. Won't the other angels sense me? My garden is shielded from outside observation. One of the privileges of my station. A shadow crossed her perfect features. Though we shouldn't risk an extended visit. Michael turns a blind eye to my indiscretions, but others might not be so understanding. Michael knows about me. Gabriel nodded. He has known from the beginning. He doesn't approve, but he loves me too much to report what would be considered my greatest sin. Her smile turned wistful. Love has always been Michael's weakness, and his strength. She gestured for Issei to join her on a bench overlooking a pool of water so clear it seemed almost invisible. I have so many questions, Issei began, sitting beside her. Azazel told me about how I was born, why you had to hide me. But he didn't really explain what it means to be what I am. What a Nephilim truly is. Gabriel's expression grew serious. The term Nephilim comes from ancient human texts. It originally referred to the offspring of angels and humans, beings of great power but unstable nature. But you are something else entirely, born of an angel and a fallen angel. Such a thing has never existed before. So no one knows what I'm capable of. No one knows your limits, Gabriel corrected gently. But we can make educated guesses based on your nature. She reached out, touching the pendant at his throat. You carry both light and darkness within you, perfectly balanced. Neither corrupted nor purified, but harmonized. Azazel says I should embrace being something new instead of trying to be half angel, half fallen. Your father is wiser than he pretends to be, Gabriel said with a fond smile. Yes, that is precisely the path you should follow. The Nephilim of old failed because they tried to be angels in human form. You must find your own way, the Nephilim way. But what does that mean? Issei pressed. What's my purpose in all this? Gabriel studied him thoughtfully. Perhaps your purpose is to define what a Nephilim can be. To show both heaven and the Grigori that our divisions are not as absolute as we've believed. She took his hands in hers, and Issei felt a surge of power, pure, loving energy that resonated with the light side of his nature while not rejecting the darkness. You were conceived in love, Issei. Not the corrupted passion that typically causes angels to fall, but something truer. That makes you unique even beyond your mixed heritage. Issei absorbed this, feeling both the weight and the freedom in her words. No predetermined path, but the chance to define his own destiny. I should return you to Earth soon, Gabriel said regretfully. Even with my protections, your presence here risks detection. Will I see you again? Her smile was radiant with maternal love. More often than before, I hope. Now that you can travel on angel's wings, the barriers between us are fewer. She touched his cheek gently. And I am always watching over you, even when you cannot see me. She stood, extending her hand to help him up. As Issei rose, movement at the edge of the garden caught his attention, a flicker of something that didn't belong in this perfect space. Gabriel noticed his distraction and turned sharply. Her wings flared in what Issei instinctively recognized as a defensive posture. We are observed, she said quietly, all warmth gone from her voice. Behind the eastern column. Issei followed her gaze to see a figure stepping from behind a marble pillar, another angel, judging by the wings, though this one had only 4. He wore armor that gleamed with golden light, and his expression was one of righteous disgust. Seraph Gabriel, the newcomer spoke, his voice like steel wrapped in velvet. So the rumors are true. You harbor the abomination. Careful, Uriel, Gabriel replied, her tone carrying a warning. You speak of my son. Your mistake, Uriel corrected harshly. Your fall from grace-given flesh. His gaze shifted to Issei, and the contempt there was palpable. Half-breed. You defile heaven with your very presence. Anger flared in Issei, both light and darkness responding to his emotion. I didn't ask to be born, he said, stepping forward. And I didn't ask to come here today. Yet here you stand, Uriel replied. Proof of the corruption spreading through our ranks. He drew a sword of flame that burned with holy fire. The council must be informed of this transgression. Gabriel moved between them, her 12 wings fully extended now, a display of power that made even Uriel hesitate. You will do no such thing. This matter falls under my jurisdiction as Seraph of Love. Love? Uriel scoffed. Is that what you call your dalliance with the Fallen One? Your violation of our most sacred laws? Our laws are not what you believe them to be, brother, Gabriel replied calmly. Nowhere is it written that love between an angel and a fallen is forbidden, only assumed impossible. Semantics, Uriel spat. The halfling cannot be allowed to exist. His power is an affront to the natural order. Issei felt his control slipping, rage building at the angel's words. The pendant at his throat grew hot as conflicting energies responded to his emotions. I think that's enough family drama for one day, a new voice interrupted. All three turned to see Azazel strolling casually into the garden, hands in his pockets as if he were merely out for an afternoon walk rather than a fallen angel entering heaven uninvited. Azazel, Uriel hissed, raising his flaming sword. Your audacity knows no bounds. So I've been told, Azazel replied cheerfully. Lovely garden, Gabriel. The dimensional anchoring is particularly elegant, though it made it challenging to track our wayward son here. He moved to stand beside Issei, placing a hand on his shoulder. The gesture was casual but positioned him directly opposite Gabriel, with Issei protected between them. Governor, Gabriel acknowledged with a small nod. Your timing is impeccable as always. One of my many talents, Azazel agreed. Now, Uriel, let's be reasonable. Attacking a seraph and a nephilim in Gabriel's own domain would be politically complicated, wouldn't it? Especially when Michael hasn't authorized such action. Uriel's grip on his sword tightened. This abomination, my son, both Gabriel and Azazel corrected simultaneously. Has no place in heaven, Uriel finished, though with less conviction. On that, we can agree, Azazel said smoothly. Which is why we'll be leaving immediately. No harm done, no official incident to report. Uriel hesitated, clearly weighing his options. After a tense moment, he lowered his sword slightly. This isn't over. The council will hear of this. I'm sure they will, Gabriel replied serenely. And when they do, I will present my case in full, including how you violated the sanctity of my personal domain without authorization. The threat was subtle but clear. Even Issei could see the political calculation behind it. Whatever Uriel's standing in heaven's hierarchy, directly challenging a seraph carried consequences. With a final glare at Issei, Uriel sheathed his sword and stepped back. You have until sunset to remove him from heaven, Gabriel. After that, I cannot promise discretion. With a flash of light, he vanished. The moment he was gone, Gabriel's composed facade cracked. We must get you out of here immediately, she told Issei, genuine fear in her eyes. If the powers are alerted to your presence, already working on it, Azazel interrupted, producing a small device from his pocket. Interdimensional extraction module. Not as elegant as angel transportation, but more reliable for cross-realm travel. He handed the device to Issei. Think of home, your human home, specifically. The module will do the rest. Will you be okay? Issei asked Gabriel, reluctant to leave her facing potential consequences alone. Her expression softened. I've navigated heaven's politics for millennia, my son. This is hardly my first confrontation with Uriel. She touched his face gently. Go. We'll speak again soon. Issei nodded, clutching the device Azazel had given him. As he focused on the Hayadu household, a different circle formed beneath his feet, darker, with mechanical precision to its patterns rather than the organic flow of angelic transportation. The last thing he saw before the garden dissolved around him was his parents standing side by side, light and darkness in perfect, temporary harmony. The device deposited Issei in his bedroom with a muted flash and a sensation like being pulled through a very tight tube. He stumbled, catching himself against his desk as reality solidified around him. Well, that was certainly an adventure. Azazel's voice came from behind him. Issei spun to find the fallen angel leader lounging on his bed, looking perfectly at ease. How did you get here before you? Azazel finished with a smirk. Perks of designing the transportation device. I always include a priority override. Is Mom, Gabriel, going to be okay? Issei asked, still worried about the confrontation in heaven. She's handled worse than Uriel's posturing, Azazel assured him. Though I suspect heaven is going to be quite busy with internal politics for the next few days. He stood, straightening his coat. Which brings me to an important point, your training needs to accelerate. Because of Uriel. Because events are moving faster than anticipated. Your existence is no longer a well-kept secret. Heaven knows, the Grigori knows, the devil factions know. He fixed Issei with an unusually serious gaze. Enemies and opportunists will emerge from every corner of the supernatural world, each wanting to use or eliminate what you represent. Great, Issei muttered. No pressure or anything. Azazel clapped him on the shoulder. Look at the bright side, you're important enough to have enemies in high places. Most teenagers just have to worry about acne and homework. I still have those too, Issei pointed out dryly. Multitasking. Another valuable life skill. Azazel glanced at his watch. Speaking of which, I'm late for a meeting with some very tedious fallen angel bureaucrats. Try not to accidentally transport yourself to any more divine realms while I'm gone, With a casual salute, he vanished in a flash of dark light, leaving Issei alone with his thoughts. The encounter with Uriel had shaken him more than he wanted to admit. The hatred in the angel's eyes, the casual way he'd called Issei an abomination, it brought home the reality of his situation in a way that training sessions couldn't. His phone buzzed with a text message, providing a welcome distraction. It was from Rias, ORC meeting tomorrow after school. Important discussion. Bring your training gear. Issei flopped onto his bed, exhaustion suddenly catching up with him. Between fallen angel combat training, devil strategy sessions, angelic ability practice, and an unplanned trip to heaven, he'd pushed his body and powers to their limits today. As he drifted toward sleep, one thought circled in his mind, what exactly was a Nephilim supposed to be? The Occult Research Club room was unusually crowded the following afternoon. Not only were all the regular members present, but Sona Sitri and several of her peerage had joined them. Even more surprising was the presence of Azazel, who lounged on one of the antique sofas as if he owned the place. Glad you could join us, Issei, Rias greeted as he entered. We were just getting started. Sorry I'm late, he apologized. Teacher wanted to talk about my falling grades. He shot a pointed look at Azazel. Wonder why that's happening. The fallen angel leader shrugged unapologetically. Education comes in many forms. Some more practical than others. We understand your circumstances are unusual, Sona interjected, adjusting her glasses. Which is precisely why we've called this meeting. Issei took the only remaining seat, between Kaneko and Kiba. What's going on? Rias unrolled a map across the central table. We've detected unusual activity around Kuo in the past 48 hours. Multiple factions, converging simultaneously. Define unusual activity, Issei prompted. Fallen angel reconnaissance units, Azazel supplied. Not mine, he added quickly. Rogue elements loyal to Kokabil's ideology. Devil mercenaries from unaffiliated houses, Sona continued. At least 3 groups, based on their magic signatures. And most concerning, Rias finished, exorcists. Not the stray kind we faced before, but official church operatives. Issei felt a chill run down his spine. They're all coming for me, aren't they? Not all, Azazel qualified. Some are simply curious. Others are likely here to assess the situation rather than immediately act. But yes, Rias confirmed more directly, your emergence as an Nephilim has attracted significant attention across the supernatural world. Great, Issei muttered. So what's the plan? More training. Training is important, Sona acknowledged. But it won't be enough if we're facing coordinated attacks from multiple factions. We need allies, Rias stated firmly. And fortunately, we have some prospects. She gestured to Sona. The Citri clan has officially extended protection to Kuo town as Devil territory, which gives us legal standing to oppose unauthorized incursions. And I've put the word out through official Grigori channels, Azazel added. Any fallen angel who moves against you is effectively declaring war against me personally. That should deter most of them. What about heaven? Issei asked, thinking of Uriel's hostility. A shadow crossed Azazel's face. That's complicated. Gabriel is working diplomatic channels, but heaven operates by consensus. And not everyone shares her perspective. Then what do we do? Issei pressed. I can't just sit around waiting for someone to attack. You won't be, Rias assured him. We're implementing a rotation schedule. Members of both our peerages will escort you at all times. Azazel has provided enhanced barrier spells for your home. And will be conducting regular patrols of Kuo to detect any supernatural presences. In other words, Sona summarized, we're preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. The discussion continued, with Rias and Sona outlining patrol routes and security measures. Azazel occasionally interjected with suggestions or criticisms, while the other devils contributed based on their specialties. Issei tried to follow along, but his mind kept returning to a fundamental question: how long could this defensive posture last? Eventually, someone would make a move. And when that happened, all the patrol schedules in the world wouldn't matter. A commotion outside interrupted his thoughts. The clubhouse door burst open as Asia Argento, a former nun who had recently joined Rias's peerage, rushed in, her face pale with alarm. President, she gasped. There's something, at the school gate. Everyone tensed. Kiba materialized a sword, while Akino's hands began crackling with electricity. Kaneko simply cracked her knuckles. What kind of something? Rias asked sharply. A man, Asia replied. With wings, white and black wings. He says he's looking for Issei. All eyes turned to Issei. Another Nephilim? Impossible, unless his parents had been hiding more than they'd admitted. Did he give a name? Azazel asked, suddenly alert. Asia nodded. He called himself Valley. Valley Lucifer. A slow smile spread across Azazel's face, though it didn't reach his eyes. Ah. I was wondering when he'd show up. You know him? Issei asked. You could say that, Azazel replied cryptically. Valley is my protege, of sorts. And the current White Dragon Emperor. The what now? Later, Rias cut in. What does he want with Issei? Azazel shrugged. Knowing Valley. A fight, most likely. He's drawn to powerful opponents like a moth to flame. And you didn't think to mention this before? Sona demanded, clearly annoyed. Valley comes and goes as he pleases, Azazel said. I'm his sponsor, not his keeper. Great, Issei muttered. Another complication. He stood, decision made. I'll talk to him. If he just wants to meet me, there's no point in everyone getting worked up. It's not that simple, Azazel warned. Valley isn't just powerful, he's unpredictable. And if he's interested in you, it's because he senses a worthy challenge. All the more reason to face him directly, Issei replied. I'm tired of hiding and waiting for threats to come to me. Before anyone could object further, he headed for the door. After a moment's hesitation, the others followed, Rias and her peerage first, then Sona's group, with Azazel bringing up the rear, looking more amused than concerned. The visitor waited exactly where Asia had described, at the main gate of Kuo Academy. He was a striking figure, tall and athletic, with silver-white hair that caught the afternoon sun. Most remarkable, however, were his wings, one pure white like an angel's, one jet black like a falcon's. Just like Issei's. "So you're the other Nephilim," the newcomer said as Issei approached. His voice was cool, almost bored, but his eyes, sharp blue and intensely focused, betrayed his interest. "I expected something more impressive." "Sorry to disappoint," Issei replied, keeping his distance. "You're Valley." "Valley Lucifer," he confirmed with a slight smirk. "Descendant of the original Lucifer and carrier of the divine dividing sacred gear." He gestured to the glowing blue wings that had now replaced his black and white ones. "Also known as the White Dragon Emperor." "That's a lot of titles," Issei observed. "What do you want with me?" Valis studied him with the calculating gaze of a predator sizing up potential prey. "I felt your power awakening. It resonated with mine in an interesting way." He tilted his head slightly. "You're untrained, raw. But your potential is undeniable. Is this where you challenge me to a fight or something?" Issei asked bluntly. A smile tugged at Vala's lips. "Direct. I appreciate that." He stepped closer, and Issei felt an involuntary shiver run down his spine. The power radiating from Valley was immense, controlled but unmistakable. "Not today," Valley decided. "You're not ready yet." "It would be unsatisfying." "Gee, thanks," Issei muttered. "Don't misunderstand," Valley continued. "I'm not here to fight an unworthy opponent. I'm here to issue an invitation." "An invitation to what?" "To become stronger," Valley replied simply. "To reach your true potential. You think you understand what being Nephilim means?" He laughed softly. "You've barely scratched the surface." Azazel chose that moment to step forward. "Valley. I thought I sensed your particular brand of chaos approaching." "Governor," Valley acknowledged with a slight nod. "Still playing faction politics, I see." "Someone has to keep the peace," Azazel replied mildly. "Why the interest in my son?" Vala's eyes widened fractionally, the first genuine surprise he'd shown. "Your son. Now that is unexpected." "I knew he was Nephilim, but I assumed." He looked between them. "Well, that explains the power signature. Though it raises more questions than it answers." "I'm full of surprises," Azazel said dryly. "Now, care to explain why you're trespassing on devil territory to harass my offspring?" "Harass?" Vala looked offended. "I'm offering guidance. One Nephilim to another." "You're not Nephilim in the same sense," Azazel corrected. "You're half devil, half human, with a sacred gear that grants you angelic powers. Different origin entirely." "Semantics," Vala dismissed with a wave. "The point remains, I understand straddling worlds in a way your devil friends never could." His gaze returned to Issei. "They'll try to box you in, categorize you. Use you for their own purposes. And you won't?" Issei challenged. A genuine smile crossed Vala's face. "I have only one interest, finding worthy opponents to test my limits. Everything else is irrelevant." "How reassuring," Rias interjected, stepping forward to stand beside Issei. "If you've delivered your message, Vala Lucifer, I must ask you to leave. This is Gremory territory." Valley regarded her with mild amusement. "Of course, Princess Gremory. Far be it from me to overstay my welcome." He turned back to Issei. "Think about what I said. When you're ready for real training without political constraints, find me." With that, he spread his glowing blue wings and launched into the sky, disappearing into the clouds with impressive speed. "Well," Azazel said into the silence that followed. "That was actually more restrained than I expected from Valley." "You could have warned us he was coming," Ria said, irritation clear in her voice. As I said, Vala comes and goes as he pleases. Even I can't predict his movements. Azazel turned to Issei. Though I'm not surprised he sought you out. You two have certain parallels in your situations. He said he was half devil, half human, Issei recalled. How does that make him like me? Not your heritage, Azazel clarified. Your position. Both of you exist outside traditional faction boundaries. Both carry unprecedented power. Both represent something new in the supernatural world. Great. My evil twin, Issei muttered. Not evil, Azazel corrected thoughtfully. Just, driven. Vala lives for battle, for testing his limits against powerful opponents. It's all that matters to him. And he sees me as his next challenge. Eventually, perhaps. For now, I think he's genuinely curious. You're possibly the only being in existence whose nature is as complicated as his own. The others began dispersing back toward the clubhouse, the excitement of Vala's visit fading. Rias lingered, her expression troubled. This complicates things, she said once the others were out of earshot. Vala Lucifer is dangerous, not just because of his power, but his unpredictability. If he's taking an interest in you, then I have one more potential problem to deal with, Issei finished. Add it to the list, I guess. Rias studied him for a moment. You're handling all this remarkably well, Issei. Most people would be overwhelmed. He shrugged. Not like I have much choice. Ever since my powers awakened, it's been one crisis after another. I'm kind of getting used to it. That's what worries me, she said softly. No one should have to get used to their life being in constant danger. Is there an alternative? Issei asked, genuinely curious. Rias hesitated. There might be. If you were to join my peerage, we've been over this, Issei interrupted gently. I appreciate the offer, I really do. But becoming a devil would change what I am fundamentally. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that is. I understand, she said, though disappointment flickered in her eyes. The offer remains open, nonetheless. As they walked back toward the clubhouse, Issei found himself thinking about Vala's words. Did he really understand what being Nephilim meant? Or was he just scratching the surface of his potential? Training intensified over the following days. Azazel pushed Issei harder than ever, focusing particularly on his ability to maintain ascension state for longer periods. Rias and her peerage drilled him on team combat tactics, while Sona contributed strategic analysis of various faction capabilities. Through it all, Issei struggled to maintain some semblance of a normal life, attending classes, doing homework, spending time with his human parents. The balancing act was exhausting but necessary. His humanity remained an anchor in the increasingly chaotic supernatural currents. A week after Vala's visit, Issei was training alone in a secluded area of the forest outside Kuo. Azazel had set up a practice range with targets designed to withstand Nephilim energies, and Issei was working on a new technique, channeling both light and darkness through a single hand rather than separating them. The results were mixed. Sometimes the energies flowed together perfectly, creating the helix effect he'd mastered. Other times they fought each other, fizzling into useless sparks or, worse, exploding back at him. Damn it, he muttered after a particularly painful backfire left his hand tingling. I'm missing something. Balance, a familiar voice observed from behind him. You're forcing the energies rather than guiding them. Issei turned to find Gabriel standing at the edge of the clearing, her presence partially concealed by what appeared to be some kind of glamour. She wore human clothing, a simple white dress that somehow looked both modest and elegant, and her wings were hidden from view. Mom, he greeted, surprised but pleased. Is it safe for you to be here? Relatively, she replied with a small smile. I've taken precautions. After the incident with Uriel, heaven is watching me more closely, but I can still move about Earth with some freedom. She approached the training area, studying the scorched targets. Azazel's work, I presume. Always so focused on combat applications. Is there something wrong with that? Issei asked, defensive of his father's teaching. Not wrong, Gabriel clarified. Just incomplete. May I? She gestured to his hands. When he nodded, she took them in hers, turning them palm up. Your father teaches you to wield your powers as weapons, understandable, given the threats you face. But there's more to your heritage than combat potential. She guided his hands into a cupped position. Try again, but instead of forcing the energies out, let them pool first. Imagine a vessel filling with water. Issei followed her instruction, focusing on drawing forth both light and darkness but containing them rather than projecting them. To his surprise, the conflicting energies settled more easily this way, forming a swirling sphere in his palms. Good, Gabriel encouraged. Now, don't think of them as separate forces to be controlled. Think of them as aspects of the same power, your power. My Nephilim power, Issei murmured, understanding dawning. The sphere stabilized further, light and darkness no longer fighting but dancing together in perfect equilibrium. It was beautiful in a way his combat applications had never been. Now, extend it gently, not as an attack, but as an offering. Issei directed the sphere toward one of the targets. Instead of striking it, the energy enveloped the object, transforming it. The scorched, damaged target began to heal, old burn marks fading as new material grew to replace what had been destroyed. Whoa, Issei breathed. Is that healing? Restoration, Gabriel corrected. More fundamental than healing. You're not just repairing damage, you're restoring the object to its ideal state. She smiled at his amazement. This is the creative aspect of your power, Issei. Not just destruction and combat, but renewal and transformation. Azazel never mentioned this, Issei said, watching as the target continued to regenerate. Your father sees the world through a particular lens, Gabriel replied without judgment. The Grigori value power primarily for protection and advancement. Heaven's perspective is different. And which perspective is right? Both. Neither. That's the beauty of your nature, Issei. You aren't bound by either tradition. You can draw wisdom from both and forge your own path. She guided him through several more exercises, showing how his dual nature could manifest in ways Azazel had never explored, blessing objects with protective qualities, sensing emotions in living beings, even brief glimpses of possible futures. These abilities will develop with practice, Gabriel explained as they concluded. Just as your combat skills have. Balance is key, not just between light and darkness, but between creation and destruction, between angelic insight and fallen ingenuity. Issei absorbed her teachings eagerly. Where training with Azazel felt like preparing for war, these lessons with Gabriel opened new dimensions of possibility. Will you be able to teach me more? He asked hopefully. A shadow crossed her perfect features. Not as often as I'd like. My movements are restricted, and heaven's politics grow more complicated by the day. She touched his face gently. But I'll come when I can. And remember, the pendant connects us. Through it, I can send guidance even when I cannot be physically present. The pendant warmed against his skin, as if responding to her words. Now, Gabriel said, her tone shifting to something more serious, I must warn you about developments in heaven. Uriel has been gathering support among the powers and virtues. He argues that your existence threatens the divine order. And does it? Issei asked. Gabriel considered this thoughtfully. Perhaps, in a way. The separation of angels and fallen has been foundational to the cosmic order since Lucifer's rebellion. Your existence challenges that separation, suggests it might not be as absolute as we've believed. Is that really so threatening? To those whose identity and purpose are defined by that separation? Yes. She sighed, a surprisingly human gesture from the perfect being. Change is difficult for immortal beings, Issei. We become set in our ways over millennia. The prospect of fundamental shifts in the cosmic order is unsettling. So what do I do? Just wait for Uriel to gather enough support to come after me? No, Gabriel said firmly. You prepare. You grow stronger. And most importantly, you demonstrate through your actions that you are not a threat but a potential bridge, a new possibility in the divine plan. That's a lot of pressure, Issei observed. Gabriel smiled gently. All children face pressure to live up to their parents' expectations. Yours are simply more cosmic in scale. A disturbance in the air interrupted their conversation, a shimmer like heat waves that coalesced into a communication circle bearing Azazel's sigil. Issei, his father's voice emerged, uncharacteristically urgent. Return to the safe house immediately. We have a situation. Gabriel tensed. What's happened, Azazel? Gabriel? Surprise colored his tone. You're with him. Good, bring him in through angelic transport if you can. It's faster and harder to track. What's going on? Issei demanded. The Chaos Brigade is making a move, Azazel replied grimly. And they've targeted your human parents. Gabriel's angelic transportation deposited them directly into Azazel's command center, a high-tech operation room buried beneath his mansion. Multiple screens displayed different areas of Occult, while fallen angels and human operatives moved with practiced efficiency between monitoring stations. Azazel stood at the center of the activity, issuing orders with the authority of a general. When he saw Issei and Gabriel arrive, relief briefly crossed his features. Good, you're here, he said without preamble. Situation update: approximately 20 minutes ago, a team of unknown operatives breached the barrier around the Hayadu residence. They neutralized our security detail and extracted your parents. Extracted? Issei repeated, cold fear gripping his heart. You mean kidnapped? Are they hurt? Unknown, Azazel replied bluntly. Our surveillance was compromised. Last visual confirmation showed them alive but unconscious. Who did this? Gabriel asked, her serene demeanor replaced by something harder, more focused. You mentioned the Chaos Brigade. Chaos Brigade, Azazel corrected. A terrorist organization comprised of supernatural dissidents from various factions. Led by Ophis, the Ouroboros dragon. And they took my parents? Issei demanded. Why? They're just humans. Leverage, Azazel said simply. Against you. And by extension, against me and Gabriel. As if on cue, one of the screens flickered and changed to show a masked figure. The voice that emerged was distorted, unidentifiable. Governor General Azazel. We have confirmed that you've received our message. The camera panned to show Mr. and Mrs. Hayadu tied to chairs, conscious now but clearly frightened. As you can see, your pets are unharmed, for now. What do you want? Azazel asked, his tone deceptively casual despite the tension radiating from him. An exchange. The humans for the Nephilim. Simple and clean. Issei stepped forward before Azazel could respond. Let them go. They have nothing to do with this. The masked figure laughed. On the contrary. They have everything to do with this. They raised you, shaped you. Made you soft and human. A waste of potential. If you hurt them, Issei began, but the figure cut him off. You'll what? Rage and destroy. Good. That power is precisely what interests us. The masked head tilted slightly. You have 1 hour to surrender yourself at the abandoned shrine north of Occult. Come alone, or the humans die. No fallen angel escorts, no devil allies. The screen went black before they could respond. It's a trap, Azazel stated immediately. Obviously. Of course it is, Issei agreed, already moving toward the exit. But I'm still going. Azazel caught his arm. Not without a plan, you're not. The Chaos Brigade isn't some minor threat, they have operatives powerful enough to challenge gods. They have my parents. Issei snapped, shrugging off Azazel's grip. What would you have me do? Abandon them? No, Gabriel interjected calmly. But rushing in blindly serves no one, least of all your parents. She turned to Azazel. What do we know about this shrine? The terrain, approach vectors. Azazel nodded, appreciating her practical focus. He pulled up a topographic map on the main screen. The shrine sits on a mountain ridge, largely abandoned since the new highway diverted traffic. One main approach path, heavily forested on all sides. Defensible position, Gabriel observed. They'll see anyone coming by conventional means. Unless I transport directly in, Issei suggested. Azazel shook his head. They'll have countermeasures against teleportation. These aren't amateurs. Then what's the alternative? Issei demanded. I have less than an hour. Gabriel and Azazel exchanged a look, one of those wordless communications that spoke of their ancient history together. The pendant, Gabriel said finally. It can do more than stabilize your powers, Issei. In an emergency, it can act as a beacon, a signal that I can lock onto from anywhere. A divine tracking device, Azazel elaborated. We let you go in, apparently alone, while maintaining the ability to intervene the moment things go south. Which they will, Gabriel added grimly. The Cows Brigade won't simply release your parents once they have you. Issei touched the pendant at his throat. So I'm the bait, and you're the cavalry. Essentially, Azazel confirmed. But you'll need to stall them, keep them talking long enough for us to position our forces. And how exactly do I do that? By giving them what they want, Gabriel suggested. Or appearing to. They want my power, Issei said, understanding dawning. Or more specifically, they want me to lose control of it, to rage and destroy, as the masked figure put it. Azazel nodded. The Cows Brigade thrives on chaos. Your unique nature represents potential chaos on a cosmic scale if unleashed improperly. So I pretend to be on the edge, Issei worked through the plan aloud. Make them think they're getting to me, that I might snap at any moment. While actually maintaining perfect control, Gabriel emphasized. It's a dangerous game, Issei. If you truly lose yourself to anger. I won't, he promised, though uncertainty gnawed at him. His control over his dual nature had improved dramatically, but under stress, with his parents in danger. You'll need to maintain the facade long enough for us to get into position, Azazel continued, already moving to a weapons rack. I'll bring a strike team through the forest under concealment. Gabriel can position angels, he stopped, glancing at her. Can you? Without alerting heaven? I can bring Dulio and perhaps one or two others who remain loyal to me personally, she confirmed. A small force, but effective. I'll also alert the devils, Azazel added. Rias and Sona will want to help, and we'll need all the allies we can get. Issei took a deep breath, the reality of the situation settling in. Okay. I go in, stall them, pretend to be losing control without actually losing it, all while you position an army to rescue my parents. That's the general idea, Azazel confirmed. Though I wouldn't call it an army. More of a specialized extraction team. And if something goes wrong? Issei pressed. Gabriel stepped forward, placing both hands on his shoulders. Then you do what you must to survive, Issei. And know that we will come for you, no matter what. The conviction in her voice was absolute, a divine promise that resonated with the light half of his nature. Beside her, Azazel nodded in solemn agreement, his expression as serious as Issei had ever seen it. In that moment, with both his extraordinary parents standing together, united in purpose despite their cosmic differences, Issei felt a surge of confidence. He was their son, angel and fallen, light and darkness in balance. Let's do this, he said firmly. No one threatens my family and gets away with it. The shrine looked even more abandoned up close, wooden structures decaying, stone lanterns crumbling, nature slowly reclaiming what humans had built. As Issei approached on foot, following the overgrown path as instructed, he sensed multiple presences hidden among the trees and structures. The pendant hung heavy against his chest, radiating warmth that would have been comforting under other circumstances. Now it felt like a countdown clock, ticking toward inevitable confrontation. "I'm here," he called out as he reached the main shrine building. "I came alone, just like you asked. Now where are my parents?" Movement from within the shrine caught his attention. The masked figure from the video transmission stepped onto the sagging wooden porch, flanked by two others, a woman with cat-like features that marked her as a Nikomata, and a man whose aura pulsed with devil energy. "The Nephilim arrives," the masked figure observed. "How obedient. Your human attachments make you predictable. Where are my parents?" Issei repeated, allowing an edge of desperation to enter his voice. Step 1, appear emotionally compromised. The masked figure gestured, and the shrine doors slid open wider to reveal Mr. and Mrs. Hayadu seated inside, bound but apparently unharmed. Their eyes widened when they saw Issei. "No!" Mrs. Hayadu cried out. "Issei, you shouldn't have come. It's a trap." "Silence," the Nikomata hissed, placing clawed fingers against the woman's throat. Issei took an instinctive step forward, and the pendant flared hot against his skin, both a warning and a signal to his parents watching from afar. "Aha," the masked figure cautioned. "Not another step. We have much to discuss before any reunions." "Fine," Issei bit out. "Talk. What do you want with me?" The figure descended the steps, moving with unnatural grace. Up close, Issei could sense something wrong about their aura, fractured, as if multiple energies had been forcibly combined. "Want with you?" "Everything. You represent the future, young Nephilim. A being born of opposing forces, carrying power that defies the established order." The distorted voice carried unmistakable hunger. "The Cows Brigade seeks to break the stranglehold of the old factions. Your existence serves our purpose perfectly." "I'm not interested in faction politics," Issei replied, letting frustration color his tone. Step 2, show signs of emotional instability. "No." "Then what do you want, child of light and darkness? To play human? To be a pawn for devils or fallen angels?" The figure circled him predatorily. "We offer something greater, freedom to be what you truly are, without constraints." "And what's that?" Issei asked, genuinely curious despite the circumstances. "A god in the making," the figure stated simply. "Your power, once fully awakened, could rival the divine. The old order fears this potential, why else would they hide you away for 16 years? Issei laughed bitterly. "If you think my parents hid me because they feared my power, you don't understand anything about them. Your biological parents, perhaps. These humans." The figure gestured dismissively toward the hiatus. "Mere caretakers. Temporary guardians for a being they could never comprehend." Anger flared in Issei, genuine this time. The pendant grew hotter, and he felt his dual energies responding to his emotions. Perfect for his act, but dangerously close to real loss of control. "Don't talk about them like that," he warned, allowing his eyes to begin glowing, left gold, right violet. "They raised me. Loved me. They're my real parents in every way that matters. And look how you repay their care, by bringing danger to their doorstep," the figure taunted. "How many more will suffer for their connection to you, Nephilim? How many more will the old order sacrifice to keep you chained?" The word struck closer to home than Issei wanted to admit. It was a fear that had haunted him since learning his true nature, that his very existence endangered those around him. The pendant pulsed against his skin. "Not yet," it seemed to say. "Keep them talking." "What exactly are you offering?" Issei asked, allowing a hint of uncertainty to enter his voice. "Protection for my parents in exchange for, what? My allegiance? Your participation, the masked figure corrected. In the new world we're creating. One where artificial boundaries between supernatural races are eliminated. Where power, not ancient treaties, determines one's place. Sounds like chaos, Issei observed. Precisely, the figure agreed. Creative chaos from which a better order will emerge. Your dual nature embodies this principle perfectly, opposing forces generating something new through their conflict. As the figure spoke, Issei subtly extended his senses, a technique Gabriel had taught him during their brief training session. Beyond the 3 visible enemies, he detected at least a dozen more scattered throughout the shrine grounds. Some felt like devils, others like yokai or fallen angels. A diverse collection of malcontents, united only by their desire for destruction. The pendant gave a particular pulse, 3 quick bursts of warmth. The signal that Azazel and Gabriel's forces were in position. Time to escalate. Enough talk, Issei demanded, taking an aggressive step forward. His wings erupted from his back, black and white, fully extended. Release my parents now, or see what happens when a god-in-the-making loses his temper. The Nikomata hissed, claws extending further. The devil moved to block Issei's path to the shrine, conjuring a sword of dark energy. Only the masked figure remained calm. Impressive display. But control appears to be an issue for you, young Nephilim. Perhaps a demonstration of the consequences of defiance would help clarify your position. The figure raised a hand toward Mrs. Hayadu, energy gathering at their fingertips, not enough to kill, but certainly enough to cause pain. Issei reacted instantly, his ascension state triggering in a flash of golden-violet light. The transformation was smoother than ever before, his body adapting to the enhanced state with practiced efficiency. Don't, he warned, his voice resonating with power. Last chance. The masked figure paused, head tilted as if reassessing. Fascinating. Your control is better than our intelligence suggested. Perhaps you've had more training than we realized. With a casual gesture, the figure redirected the gathered energy, not toward Mrs. Hayadu, but directly at Issei's chest. The attack was faster and stronger than anticipated. Even in ascension state, Issei barely managed to erect a shield in time. The impact drove him back several steps, his heels digging furrows in the dirt. Not bad, the figure acknowledged. But how will you fare against multiple opponents while protecting your precious humans? At some invisible signal, the hidden operatives emerged from concealment, 15 in total, a mix of supernatural races united under the Chaos Brigade banner. They surrounded Issei in a loose circle, cutting off any escape route. The pendant burned against his skin, the final signal. Help was seconds away. Issei smiled, allowing his Nephilim power to flare visibly around him. You know, for a terrorist organization, your intelligence is surprisingly bad. The masked figure stiffened. What do you mean? I mean, Issei replied calmly, that you should have checked for tracking devices. The pendant erupted with blinding light just as multiple transportation circles appeared throughout the shrine grounds. From them emerged Azazel's strike team, elite fallen angels armed with light weapons. Simultaneously, the sky above split open as Gabriel descended with Dulio and 2 other angels, their combined presence making the air itself vibrate with power. From the forest came Rias and her peerage, followed closely by Sona's group. Even Valley was there, hovering at the edge of the battlefield with an expression of amused interest. The Chaos Brigade operatives reacted with varying degrees of shock and preparation. Some immediately engaged the nearest opponents, while others looked to the masked leader for direction. Treachery, the figure spat. Kill the humans. The Nikomata lunged toward Mrs. Hayadu, claws extended, only to be intercepted by a white blur. Kaneko, moving faster than Issei had ever seen her, caught the larger Nikomata's wrist in a grip that made the bones audibly crack. Bad kitty, Kaneko said flatly, before hurling the enemy combatant through the shrine wall. Kiba and Akino cut a path to Mr. Hayadu, the knight's swords flashing while the priestess's lightning kept attackers at bay. Chaos erupted across the shrine grounds as battle was joined on multiple fronts. Azazel engaged 3 fallen angel defectors simultaneously, his casual demeanor replaced by the deadly efficiency of a veteran warrior. Gabriel and her angels formed a perimeter of blinding light, their power making several lesser demons flee outright. The masked figure, seeing their trap collapse, turned their full attention to Issei. This changes nothing. You've merely accelerated the something went wrong with this response, please try again. Move ahead into the next chapter. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.